It's Friday, 7th March, and it is Budget Day, the highly anticipated 2025 budget. I am a part of the broadcast team here today. I'm Ursuline Crosby, and of course, ably supported and co-hosted by Pastor Stevenson Worm. We will be conducting the pre-broadcast discussion and also the post discussion of the budget presentation today here at the House of Parliament up here at Mount Weldale. So we are looking forward to sharing. The budget today will be shared under the theme towards Vision 75, Grenada Resilient and Rising. Yes, so we are looking forward to what Finance Minister Denis Cornwall will be sharing with us today. Pastor Worm?
Yeah, it really is a pleasure. And I dare say not just both of us, but the entire country will be listening. And looking with great anticipation. Of course, in addition to that, you've got the diaspora that will be hinged on to the broadcast. So we anticipate a great day. We anticipate all that will be delivered. And I'm sure that the country as a whole will have clarifications on many issues. Because this is not a political divide, really. Rather, it is a national interest, and it's something that concerns all of us.
I agree. It allows us to plan, and I think that is what budgeting does. On the national level, it gives you an opportunity. You know what's government's plans, what will be coming for the year. You maybe as an individual, business owner, it also gives you a chance to plan. What are the things that you want to embark on, the plans that you may have for the year. So you recognize that it sets the tone for many. As you rightfully said, the people in the diaspora, we want to say good morning to them because we know that they're always following. It is going to be a lot to look forward to. We are presenting, government is presenting a budget 2025, March 7th, with coming on the heels of massive destruction in 2024 by Hurricane Beryl. So it reminds us of that time years ago when we had to deal with Ivan. So we know that it's a budget that you look forward to because you know that people want to hear what's happening, especially our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and the Sister Isle that was mostly affected by Hurricane Beryl last year. So early, it gave us a historic start to the hurricane season, but along with it, we realized that it had displaced a lot of our brothers and sisters on the other side. So it means, therefore, that, and I think what most people don't understand, and working in NADMA for a number of years, you recognize that your response after a hurricane, it's immediate. It has just happened. The long-term planning as to how you become resilient, and I know the theme reflects that, is what you now plan as you move forward to ensure that while we have no control over nature, that we are better prepared for it. Can you be entirely prepared? Well, we do what we can as a nation. And I think the budget will set the tone for this, government's plans, programs, and how we do that as we continue as a nation.
Yes, and there must be a higher level of vigilance. Things are changing. The climatic conditions across the world are changing. In the past, you expected hurricanes to be in our region somewhere around September. A little lower down the year. Now we're noticing that it's coming a little higher. We had Emily that was in July years ago, and Beryl also in July. So there has to be a much higher level of alertness among the populace to ensure that we're prepared for the event of natural disasters. And of course, planning for that, we don't wait until things happen. The old-fashioned, he who aims at nothing would always hit it. So we've got to be always aiming at something. And it's all about preparations, preparing before, forecasting, budgeting, ensuring that nothing really takes us by surprise. That's very important.
And I think it's also important that we note here that while, yes, our policymakers, those charged with responsibilities to guide this nation, will then present a plan that will allow us to be better prepared. That's the national level. It is more critical and it is more impactful when you as an individual prepare. I think that's the bigger conversation. And I know that in the past we have focused heavily on it. As you rightfully said, September is when we expect them. But I think they are changing. We look at the seasons now. This is supposed to be the dry season. It's just stepping in. We're in March. It should have started since January. So it tells us, yes, that the reality of the change in climate, it is very, very present, that we have to accept that which we cannot control, but most are prepare. Yeah? And I'm sure today the government will be presenting a package that we hope continues to remind people of the need to always be prepared, but that's so that the national framework can support this.
And Oslin, I think it's very important too that we get our young people involved.
Yes.
Because they're the future generation. They're the ones that are going to take us into a new era and a new dawn. So the more educated our young people are, is going to be very significant and crucial for our country and the future of our country. So when this budget is being delivered, our young people must pay a very keen and acute interest in what's taking place. In the past, you heard the sort of tonation that suggested, you know, it's more for the middle age and the older people. We're not necessarily involved and interested in it. I think now we're beginning to see the dawn, however, of a new psyche, the dawn of a new awareness where our young people are more involved.
I think it seemed the revolution seemed to have also been better embraced, having more younger people as part of the government structure. You know, normally we sit down, you look at it on television, the prime minister or the ministers are usually older, you know, you're more mature people, people who will public service. But now we recognize that we have children. I was speaking to a friend of mine today, and her daughter is telling her that she wants to be the first prime minister, female prime minister. So you recognize our children now have big, big visions. They are dreaming big, and I think it augurs well for our future.
And you're right about that. I think it started with the revolution back in the mid-1970s when so many of our young people got involved in melange, a good mixture of the older brand and the new brand.
I agree.
Which would certainly help for
believe
continuity.
I agree. I believe in that. I believe in that. And you see, it reminds us too of the construct that we grew up in. We have we have our grandparents there that would provide that level of guidance and transfer wisdom. It's only, I think, as we get older, we recognize the things they share, yes, and how important and significant they are until we become adults. They used to share those phrases, and afterwards, it's okay, so that's what they were saying. The mix, as you rightfully said, is critical.
Absolutely.
It is critical because it is always important that it does not matter what position you hold, whatever leadership position you hold, it's always important that there be somebody there that would say to you, no, I think that one was not a good move. That one you could have done better. Or this one you did exceptional. It is important. And mentoring, the guidance is critical in growth, and no matter what field you embark on, you as an individual, we all have that person that we will go to, as we say, for sound counsel. Be it a pastor, be it a friend, there will be that discerning voice that will tell you that yes or no, and you can trust it.
I think the good thing is that we notice that there are quite a number of young leaders, comparatively speaking, in the country. That is very good. But again, we need to caution. It's important to look to the older ones and those who have gone before to get some sort of wisdom from them and guidance and mentorship from them. And it's going to go a very, very, very long way.
I agree. I agree. I think the charge is for everyone in this case.
Yes.
a beautiful blend of
Yes.
both. So experienced and new. From there, we should see an excellent final product.
But I think all in all, it's about patriotism. And I wish I can hear the word patriotism resounding a little bit more. I dare say, and you'll hear us referring to it quite a lot, not that I was the biggest fan of the revolution per se, but during that era, that 1979 to 83, the word patriotism and patriot, you heard those words practically every day. We don't hear those words very often, and maybe not often enough, but we need to go back to the old-fashioned patriotism where we love our country and we do as much as we can for our country.
I agree. I think the response is different. The passion that you will see emanating from someone when it involves patriotism is different.
Yes.
The drive, the will, nobody has to ask you. You would do it, you would get up and do it because you're seen for the greater good. It is for us, it is for this country. Whether or not you benefit directly, your children or children's children, along somewhere in years to come would benefit. And I think it's important that we change this, something that I'm hoping we can see a revolution in. Now that we have access to more and more information, our young people as we are stepping to the fore to be young leaders. It is great. We're seeing a lot of our females now stepping up. This time around, we have the opposition leader that is now a female, sworn into office earlier. So we recognize that these decisions, they don't only impact the older people who see it, but it inspires our young ones. And I think that's the footing for me that shows hope for tomorrow, and that we are really, really changing the landscape of what we know. But I don't want us to lose the tenets, the true tenets of what build us as a nation and as a people, because we would never lose the community. As I keep saying, our hospitality is not based on you coming here and seeing it. It's cultured in us. That when we walk by, we say good morning. When you travel, you recognize it is not like that. When they come to us, though, they would adjust to us. Yes. But when we go to them, it's not them. So I think it's important that we salvage and also be very, very protective of that very, very unique way of life that we have in the Caribbean, here in Grenada. Right here at home, I think we need to preserve it. It's critical.
Look, Oslin, we've got a great country. We've got a beautiful country.
We do.
And people from all over the world, they come to us, they sample what we do have to offer. And for the most part, they're highly impressed with it.
Yes.
And I think we also have to be impressed with what we have. In a rather modest way, yes. But let's be impressed with what we have. We may not have all the silver and gold in the world, but there are some precious, precious commodities that we've got here that we must never give up at all.
I agree. I fully agree and endorse. So we are here at the House of Parliament, and we know it is budget day, so there's a lot of policy decisions, budgetary allocations, ministries, focus areas, and I know people are anticipating a lot. Last year, the budget was presented, it was $1,656,356,499. That was last year's budget. Beryl would have come and derailed a lot of that budget because we did not expect her, and she did widespread damage. What can we expect this year? And we know that it's just about 15 minutes before the House proceedings commence. And we just want to share with people the proceedings, what will happen this morning for those who may be looking at the budget for the first time, or school children and so that may be wondering what to expect. Pastor Will, I'm going to just allow you to share what to expect in the proceedings here at Parliament before the budget is presented by Minister Cornwall this morning.
Well, of course, we have the formal entry of the Speaker, which everybody looks forward to. There are always these ceremonial things that you'll get in Parliament, of course, which is followed by prayers. There is the oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member. And then there will be, of course, the confirmation of minutes of the last meeting. Then we've got messages from the Governor General. Announcements would be made by the Speaker, and presentation of petitions will then follow. And then we'll have presentation of papers and reports from select committees. Later on, we'd have unopposed private business questions, of course, that will arise. And we have motions which will be passed. And then later on, of course, we have the bills, okay, the readings of the bills and passage of the bills. So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be a pretty full package. And I believe that it will be, all, of course, will be addressed with anticipation and animation. And there'll be a lot of information. So we don't want you to leave at all. Stay tuned with us and stay right here. There's a lot to offer.
Yes, there is a lot to offer. And it's important to know that today is just the presentation, as you rightfully said. Come next Monday, we'll have the rebuttal to the budget. It's important to also know that the same timeline that the Minister of Finance would use today to present, so if the Finance Minister takes 3 hours to present the budget, I think the same time is allocated to the opposition's rebuttal, which is the opposition leader's rebuttal to the budget, and that would be Honorable Emmeline Pear. Her first duty as opposition leader will be to rebut the budget on Monday. So it is going to be interesting. We do have a lot happening, things changing, and then we go into the debates that will happen next week, where both government and opposition sides will be making their contributions to the budget. So it's important that you listen there. Listen to everything. Listen to the breakdown of the budget today, the focus areas of government. I know this time around, pillars of Vision 75 is that of energy, agriculture, health, education, and the environment. And I think our discussion initially spoke a lot about that of the environment, how it's changing. So we know that it is critical. Energy continues to be a discussion in the region, Venezuela, Trinidad, the rest of the world. We have agriculture, food security, or food basket. How do we protect it? Health, critical. If we don't have health, we have no wealth. So it means that it's important in education. It empowers everything else that we speak about. So I am looking forward to today's presentation, the allocations, government's reasoning behind these allocations, and what we will expect for 2025.
And of course, there'll be the challenge to borrow 725 million, quite a handsome amount, I dare say. And of course, there'll be discussions as to where, who our lenders would be, who we're going to be approaching both regionally, locally, and internationally. All of those will be of keen interest. You just spoke about and mentioned about the fact that we'd have the Honorable Emmeline Pear as the official opposition leader. And it'll be a bit strange because we've heard the voice of Honorable Keith Mitchell for so many years. Then there is the change, and here you've got a lady presenting. That is going to create quite a great deal of interest, won't it?
Yes, it will. It will. It's different.
It is different.
It's different. So we expect, and that's what I'm saying, this year's presentation, it gives you, the anticipation is different. The anticipation is different because there's a certain level of newness, as you see to it. Yes, I remember when Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell presented the first budget. I remember I was also sitting here, and it's different. It was different. He presented different. The presentation, everything was different. So you recognize now that you have a female on the other side to rebut to the budget. It's like, okay, all right. With women, we always have flair. We always have a touch of something different. What will be presented? How will she do it? But we know that she's not new to Parliament. So we wait to see what happens.
I think that's the good thing. She's been around for quite some time. Started young.
Yes, she did.
But is very experienced now in Parliament. So she should be able to give a pretty good account of herself.
Yes, I think that's the good thing. While, yes, she may be new to the position, she's not new to Parliament. So it will bring for some, looking forward to healthy debate, contributions to the budget. And I think that should be the takeaway from this House. Yeah, that is always important. You have an opportunity to share, make a contribution to national development. What impacts us, what would make us better, what you think should go different. And that is what democracy is about.
You're sure right.
That is what democracy is. And this House represents democracy.
Yes. And I'm glad whenever we hear that there are opposition in the House.
Yes.
To me, it does help the ruling government to be sharper. You keep them on their toes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those persons who really love the 50 nils, really. You know, you just like to hear people challenge, not just for challenging sake, but for national interest.
Yes,
you know, so I love to hear those debates, and I think it augurs well for the country.
It does.
Yeah, so
It does.
here now we can expect some strong debating taking place.
I fully endorse that statement, Pastor Wom, because we recognize, you know, sometimes you have an idea to do something, but somebody comes with what am I saying, and add to it. It's not necessarily, you're not moving away from the idea, you know, but you add something to it, and you recognize that you have a unique product that everybody then will be proud of. Yes. And I think it's important. It is always important. You know, people always think that an argument is bad. Arguments are good. Great ideas come from arguments. Right. People share how they really feel during arguments. You hear the truth. It's important. And here at the House, what we have is healthy debate. That is what it should be. Healthy debate. You see it that way because you are in that position. I'm on the other side, might have been inside, and I see it totally different. But you recognize that when you put those two together, and all of that, I think, is what government also tries to capture in preparation of today's budget, which will be presented through that of the consultations, where you go into the different communities and you give people an opportunity to share.
Yeah, actually, so let's back up a bit. Of course, with the Vision 75. Now, don't forget, this was not last year. No. This was just, you know, on the onset of COVID.
Yes.
So this is a continuation. Okay. And I love that. I love to see continuity. If something is progressive, something is important, something is significant, something is good for the country, I believe in continuity rather than, well, you know, my administration did not start this, so it would not be continued. And it was nice to hear that this administration says, look, you know, we're going to continue with what was proposed and what was established years before.
I think, and that is something that we always speak to. Governments, it's a continuum. It's a continuum. While, yes, your focus areas may shift based on what you as a party, when you become a government, should be the areas, you recognize that it does not change. Right? The projects that are started in the previous administration will continue to do. You just decide that you would not do it. So all the gains that were made. So let's say, for example, the Molinaire Road that started before. Would you say that you're not going to do it? A critical piece of infrastructure on the west. It has derailed and would have offset a lot of the commerce on the western side. Fuel. Sales van getting goods to you. Hear people complaining of it. Do you just decide that because the governments have changed that I'm going to shift focus entirely and I'm going to just condemn all infrastructural work? No, that never happens. And I think it is important that we understand that there's a difference in the campaign to that of governance. When you govern for everybody. When a decision is made, it impacts all of us. The Prime Minister represents Grenada. We are all Grenadians. Yes? Party lines are only called during a campaign. After that, we come together as one and we work.
That's correct.
And that is what it should be about. And that's what democracy speaks to.
Yes, getting down to the nation's business.
Yes.
And being very serious about it.
Very serious about it.
I refer, however, Oslin, to something we saw during the revolution, where every year was designated. So you would have maybe the year of agriculture, the year of education, that sort of thing. I wished that would come back so that, you know, in a particular year, there'll be an emphasis on something that is significant, and you would be driven to ensure that that is looked at and worked upon. That was one of the things that I took away during the revolution. Okay. I hope somehow we can do something like that,
and get back to that
today or later on, that sort of thing.
Okay.
You remember the days, don't you?
Yes, I remember when it used to be like that. You have, I think it also formed part of when you had focus on that of some areas that have religion, start of the school terms, all those type of things. What we recognize, though, that changes, is just as we were speaking too, is that So different people would come in, but the focus remains the same.
That's
but I
correct.
guess the highlight, no, it gives us it's like added impetus because there's a lot more PR on it. There's a lot more showcasing what's happening, and you realize that people are stepping up. I want us to get back to the days when we can do that with agriculture, because we realize that it is now with everything that's happening in the world, we realize what's happening with tariffs, decisions, pulling back on decisions, it will affect us. And I think we will be looking forward to hearing also what are some of government's plans when it comes to, because you recognize that our traditional markets, we may have to start looking away, yes, see what are those that we are not usually accustomed hearing. The African, we realize that the Prime Minister, yes, we have been seeing for 2 independents, we see some of our African businessmen. Is it a shift? And it is a timely shift, because with all that's happening in the bigger markets that we are accustomed to, then we know that it means that we have to get very innovative and decide how we would work around everything that's happening. It's going to affect us, but if it can be on a minimal scale, then I think it's going to be best for us as a people. And I think agriculture, our food security, our contribution, what we can do as a nation may be small, but if you decide to start planting at your backyard, it will help.
Yes.
It will help. It means that you won't need, and our local producers, our local farmers, the market for their produce then will increase. How do we handle those things? So it is a time it is just a different time, but it is a time, though, that you anticipate a budget because of all that's happening in the world.
Yes.
Because we will be affected.
You spoke about Africa, and we've got, some 54, 55 countries in Africa.
Yes.
And, we have connection with Africa.
We do.
I'm a bit surprised that over the years, our Caribbean fraternity did not see the value of reaching across the Atlantic and get to Africa.
Yeah.
And forge and establish fraternal relationship with these countries.
Yep.
And that's something we'll also have to look at in terms of our Foreign Affairs Department.
Yes.
Our non-traditional brothers and sisters, so to speak. Can we go into the wider world to explore Europe, to explore the Asian continent, and develop those sort of fraternal relationships? Yes. You talk about agriculture and how important it is. We'll be able to establish relationships so that we can get new ideas, new technologies, right? Our young people, I'm not sure if all of them want to use the hoe and the traditional fork, but can we get technologically innovative?
I agree.
And probably these countries might be able to help us with that. With those.
I agree. And when we speak of agriculture, our children would not want to do agriculture the way our parents and grandparents did. Now, before they step outside and their hand get in the dust, they start pulling back, right? So it means that we have to introduce new ways.
Sure.
Use what they love. They love the technology. How do we then merge it so that we can get more out of agriculture? And I think that's where we should be going. So it lends a lot. The discussion is wide as to how we can. The same thing happens with fishing. Fish is healthier, isn't it? It is. My father was a fisherman. So it's like, okay, how do we then make fishing easier? You can go out to sea, and you decide to stay for a week, and you come back with fish that can supply our local market. We export, yes, but supplying our local market, how do we do these things? Introduce technology into all of it. You have the long line fishing. There are things that we can do. And I do believe that there's a shift now to healthier living, healthier choices. We don't have a choice, do we? We are here now, and then afterwards we realize that something has changed drastically in our health. How do we do that? Our health is mainly affected by what we put in, right? Yes. So if we are conscious on that level, then it means that going local will be very easy, because then it is healthier.
Yes.
You know what you're eating, you know where it came from. It might give us a couple more years on our lives.
And in addition to that, of course, we've got to pay great attention to our health facilities here in Grenada.
Yes.
And how important it is to develop the health sector. As you know, I had my medical challenges some time ago. And quite frankly, I remember visiting the local doctor here, and he said to me, the first question he asked me is, do you have any relatives in the United States? And when he told me that, then I realized, no, this sounds a little on the bad side.
Yes.
I assured him, yes, there is. And he said, get ready, you've got to fly out. And to me, going through the whole challenge of this medical challenge, I got to realize, no, we've got to do something in Grenada to look at our health services, to bring it up to international and professional standard. We are a long way back.
Yes.
I think we are a long way back. We're probably about 10 years behind. But if we really put things in place, and I think some things are beginning to be put in place, then we can really reform the health sector.
Yes, we can. Pastor Wilm, I see that the official proceedings in the House have started, so we are going to go over now to the House so that we take in what's happening inside with the official ceremony.
Let's pray. God, we beseech thee, Almighty God, members of this honorable house, that they may wisely deliberate for the good of this country and for the glory of thy holy name. Join me in saying the Lord's Prayer, please. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pray be seated. This Parliament now convenes.
Item 3, oath of allegiance or affirmation of a new member. Item 4, confirmation of minutes.
You don't have much.
Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to members of this honorable House. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Welldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read.
Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Welldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 28 January 2025, at 9 a.m., be taken as read. Those who have that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Welldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025, at 9 a.m., be confirmed.
Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Welldale, St. George's, on Tuesday, 28 January 2025, at 9 a.m. be confirmed. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Wellhill, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 11th of February 2025 at 9 a.m. be taken as read.
Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Wellhill, St. George's, on Tuesday, 11th February 2025 at 9 a.m. be taken as read. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at Parliament Chamber, Mount Wellhill, St. George's, on Tuesday, the 11th of February, 2025, at 9 a.m. be confirmed. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that the minutes of the proceedings of a special sitting of the House of Representatives held at the Parliament Chamber, Mount Wellhill, St. George's, on Tuesday, 11th February, 2025, at 9 a.m. be confirmed. Those of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it. Indeed, the ayes have it.
Item 5, messages from the Governor General. Item 6, announcements by Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I wish to make the following announcements. Honorable members and the folks sitting in the balcony, we now have a new leader of His Majesty Opposition. As for the correspondence received, the Honorable MP for St. Andrew Southeast is now the new leader of His Majesty Opposition in this honorable House. I wish to extend my very best wishes to you, Honorable MP, and now leader of His Majesty Opposition. I wish to also say that over the past 2 days and a half, Grenada hosted the Honorable Speaker of the House of Commons, the Canadian Parliament, Honorable Greg Fergus. I know that he left the island this morning to go back to Canada, but we were hosts to him, and I know he did pay a courtesy call on our Prime Minister and some other entities. His comment to us, not just last evening, but even prior to that, was that Grenada is a wonderful place. And he intends to return to Grenada with his family for an extended vacation. And finally, tomorrow, the world celebrates International Women's Day. And I want to, at this point, to wish every woman hearing my voice, not just here in the Parliament, but every woman hearing my voice, advance best wishes for International Women's Day. I am also advised that special tokens have been prepared for the women MP in Parliament, right? So you will receive those tokens when the sitting is finished today. I do hope that as the women celebrate tomorrow that they have given the support of the men in so doing. Those are my announcements.
Item 7, presentation of petitions. Item 8, presentation of papers and reports from select committees. Item
Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to present the following papers and reports from select committees to this Honorable House. Estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 2025, medium-term economic and fiscal strategy report 2025 to 2027, medium-term debt management strategy 2025 to 2027, annual debt report 2023, report on the use of CRIF payouts, National Organizing Committee report, 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations, report on Contingency Fund 2024, minutes of the Standing Committee on Finance held on Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Government Business. Honorable members of this House, those aforementioned reports are now laid before the House.
Item 9, unopposed private business. Item 10, questions. Item 11, urgent questions on the provisions of Standing Order number 20, subsection 1, notice of questions. Item 12, statement by ministers. Item 13, personnel explanations. Item 14, motions.
Honorable Minister for Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move the following motion, standing in my name, and it reads, whereas it is necessary to provide for the services of the State of Grenada for the year 2025 by means of an Appropriation Act, be it resolved that the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025 be approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister for Finance. Honorable members, the question is, whereas it is necessary to provide for the services of the State of Grenada for the year 2025 by means of an Appropriation Act, be it resolved that the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025 be approved.
I wish to signal this Honorable House that I have the consent of the Governor General to proceed. Mr. Speaker, in compliance with the Public Finance Management Act and regulations, the Fiscal Resilience Act, and the Public Debt Management Act, I wish to advise that the following accompanying documents are laid before the Honorable House, which was done earlier on. The Medium-Term Economic and Strategic Report 2025-2027, in accordance with Section 12A of the Public Finance Management Act of 2015 as amended. The Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy 2025 to 2027, in accordance for Section 5(1) to 5(3) of the Public Management Act number 28 of 2015 as amended, and the 2023 annual debt report. The following additional reports are laid. Report on the contingency fund pursuant to SRNO 42 of 2015, National Transformation Fund regulations as amended. Preliminary financial report, the 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations, and report on the use of the CRIF payout. Mr. Speaker, it is my distinct honor to present the budget address for the fiscal year 2025 to this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, permit me to begin my presentation by thanking the Almighty God for His grace and mercies endure forever. Despite monumental challenges in the past year as a nation and God-fearing people, we have demonstrated impressive resilience. As we look ahead, we remain assured in the faith that we are blessed and highly favored. For it is written in Romans chapter 8, verses 28, and I quote, "We know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called accordingly to His purpose." Mr. Speaker, I wish to also thank the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, for his continued confidence in me to lead the Ministry of Finance in yet another difficult period for Grenada and the global economy. Permit me also to thank my colleagues in Cabinet, the staff of the Ministry of Finance, and all others who have contributed to the preparation and presentation of this year's budget. Allow me also to express profound gratitude to my constituency of St. Patrick East for the continued support, and I look forward to continue to work with them. I will speak specifically to developments within my constituents during the debate. Mr. Speaker, on July 1st, 2024, Hurricane Beryl, one of the strongest tropical cyclones in modern history to make landfall in July, struck our beautiful nation, inflicting damage to homes, roads and bridges, utilities, businesses, and the agricultural and marine sector. The damage amounted to roughly 630 million EC dollars, or 16% of our gross domestic product, particularly affecting Carriacou and Petite Martinique and the northern parishes of mainland Grenada, namely St. Patrick, St. Andrew, and St. Mark. 4 months later, in November, unprecedented rain caused major flooding and landslide, further compounding the recovery and reconstruction needs of our beloved country. Mr. Speaker, it is said that the true test of leadership is how one leads in times of crisis. We took decisive and strategic action to shield our citizens from the harsh realities of these disasters. Key interventions include keeping the nation fully abreast of all the preparedness activities, 2, targeting assistance to affected citizens to support recovery and reconstruction, such as tax relief and emergency supplies of building materials, and direct cash transfer to farmers and fisher folks. 3, suspending of the fiscal rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act, pursuant to Section 9, to facilitate immediate, urgent, and critical disaster-related spending. Launching of the Disaster Relief Fund to receive donations in support of a proactive response. As of today's date, $13.3 million has been deposited into the fund, allocating disaster risk financing such as grants, concessional loans, and insurance payouts. Invoking of disaster clause in our debt instruments where applicable to ensure adequate fiscal space to support recovery efforts. And again, delaying the 2025 budget to ensure appropriate focus was placed on the immediate short-term challenges posed by Beryl. Again, Mr. Speaker, you'd hear out there that we delayed the budget for a number of other reasons and so on. Notwithstanding, let us continue. Mr. Speaker, our swift strategic response has been instrumental in bolstering our robust economic performance in 2024 and in setting the foundation for continued transformation. Mr. Speaker, our leadership and composure in the face of disaster have not gone unnoticed. Reputable and international organizations such as the International Monetary Fund and the Caribbean Development Bank have lauded our prudent approach in preparing for and in navigating the relief and recovery of Hurricane Beryl thus far. Mr. Speaker, we owe much of this praise to the significant support of the donor and creditor community, and most critically, to the fortitude and resilience of our people. Mr. Speaker, while much has been achieved in short time, there is still much more to be done, not only in the context of Beryl recovery, but also in support of our transformative agenda for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Mr. Speaker, the robust macroeconomic performance in the last year, despite significant challenges, demonstrate impressive resilience. The medium-term outlook is favorable, supported by continued strong tourism demand, ongoing construction efforts, and investment in transformative initiatives in healthcare, housing, skills development, and renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, we have just celebrated our 51st anniversary of independence in another spectacular display of talent and patriotism under the theme, The Next 50, Embracing of Development, Transformation, and Unity.
Just hold on, Reverend. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Your phones should be turned off. There should be no shrilling. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This theme is deeply rooted in our National Sustainable Development Plan 2035, which is further embedded in our Vision 75. Vision 75 embodies a resilient Grenada, a prosperous Grenada, a conscious and caring Grenada, a Grenada where human dignity, sustained inclusive economic growth, and environmental progress are promoted. Undoubtedly, Mr. Speaker, Grenada is a nation on the rise, supported by resilience of its economy and people. Considering the foregoing of our theme for the 2025 budget, and I quote, towards Vision 75, Grenada resilient and rising, end of quote. Update on key reforms and policies. Development of the Grenada hydrocarbon potential. Mr. Speaker, we extend our sincere gratitude to the technical working group for their tremendous work over the past year. Thanks to their efforts, we are now have a clear roadmap for achieving Grenada's hydrocarbon potential. Mr. Speaker, following the presentation and debate of this budget, we'll provide the public with a comprehensive update on this matter. Development of the Kawana Bay project site and expansion of Beach House Silver Sand. Mr. Speaker, further to significant progress made in resolving the Kawana Bay dispute and engaging a new developer, Oil Caribe, construction is expected to commence this year. Simultaneously, the expansion of the Beach House Silver Sand project will provide further information on developments in these areas in due course. Reform of the Marketing and National Importing Board, MNIB. Mr. Speaker, we have taken decisive steps to address the long-standing financial mismanagement and inefficiencies plagued by the Marketing and National Importing Board. To stop the organization's financial and operational decline, we scaled down all operations and assumed all debt, creating a foundation for meaningful restructuring. However, the restructuring process has faced delays due to the absence of years and audited financial statement, complicated valuation, and due diligence efforts. Despite the challenges, government remains committed to transparency and accountability in this transition. The engagement of a strategic partner is key to building a modern, efficient, and sustainable entity that will better serve farmers, agro-processors, and the broader economy. To this end, a new company, Import Export Agromart Limited, has been established to replace the MNIB. The legal and financial experts are developing a prospectus and legal arrangements to engage a suitable strategic partner and have new entity up and running before the end of the third quarter of 2025. Strengthening parliamentary representation. Mr. Speaker, our government remains committed to strengthening parliamentary representation and ensuring that all members of parliament are equipped to serve their constituency effectively. The goal is to provide adequate resource over time, including establishment of state-owned parliamentary offices in each constituency, providing a permanent and accessible space for constituents to engage with their elected representatives. To this end, in 2025, each constituency, as far as practical, will be outfitted with a suitable vehicle to facilitate greater mobility and outreach, ensuring that the needs of our community are met with efficiency and care. Efforts will be made to secure hybrids and electrical vehicles consistent with government policy of greening the transportation sector. Pension reform. Mr. Speaker, our hard-working public servants dodged the bullet. The risk that the NNP administration would have refused to pay them their retroactive pensions and gratuity. When the electorate voted the National Democratic Congress into office to form the current administration, it was elusively clear that the former administration had no intention of honoring the payment of over 500 retired public servants who dedicated their lives to the service of Grenada. We have kept our commitment to pay the retroactive sum of $75.1 million and are making current payments going forward. Mr. Speaker, it is our continued commitment to ensuring that the public servants do not retire in poverty. We have enacted into law a new contributory pension plan to cover our 3,600 government employees who were previously not included under the existing pension arrangement. To secure the years of service, a sum of $11.3 million representing 100% of past service due is provided for in this budget. This initiative ensures that all government workers can now look forward to living out their golden years in a secure and comfortable state because they are now part of a retirement plan. Mr. Speaker, reinforces to pledge the livelihoods of both current and retired public servants. Public sector regularization. Mr. Speaker, regularization of the public service is progressing steadily. Phase 1 targeted 300 temporary officers on probation, officers on assignment, and officers holding acting appointment has surpassed the target with some 455 officers confirmed. Phase 2, which targets approximately 1,262 workers holding PSC contracts, government agreement contracts, ministries letter, and daily paid instruments, is being processed. Some 1,100 officers will be regularized by April 2025. In addition, 224 teachers are also being processed for regularization by the end of March 2025. This will bring the total number of officers regularized to the end of April 2025 to 1,779. Phase 3, which targets some 3,316 workers holding contracts for service and the managed trainees to consider for regulation by December 2025, is on schedule. A total of $22.7 million is budgeted to cover the additional costs of the regularization exercise. Pay and grade adjustment, Royal Grenada Police Force. Mr. Speaker, our government is pleased to announce the resolution of the long-standing and painful issue of pay and grade adjustment for the hard-working and dedicated men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force. A legacy of neglect by the former administration. The adjustment is effective 1st January 2025, and will cost an estimated $6.5 million, positively impacting over 1,000 members of the RDP. Mr. Speaker, the average increase in pay for police constables is estimated at $750.74 per month. This is the fulfillment of yet another promise to our people, a testament of our caring and truthful government. Sound fiscal management. Mr. Speaker, Hurricane Beryl has tested the robustness of our disaster resilient financing strategy, and we can draw important parallels between this government and the former administration on this important subject. Our commitment to the payment of the CRIF premiums when the former administration was contemplating withdrawing from a facility, a potential disastrous decision. Thankfully, this administration stayed the course and expanded coverage for CRIF to include Grenlec and Nawassa, and we consider Hurricane Beryl impact a few months ago. Our decision to stay the course has resulted in CRIF payout of $44 million over $180 million into the Treasury. The payout for the CRIF includes, but is not limited to, immediate post-event repairs to public buildings and physical infrastructure, that's roads, bridges, hospitals, schools, $15.8 million. Repairs to infrastructure for communities, that's housing, community centers, etc., $15.7 million. Purchase of food and water and medication includes for individuals include $3 million. Risk mitigation activities to reduce vulnerability to future and natural hazard events, $13.5 million. Payment to persons in support of their livelihood, example, farmers, fishermen, $31.3 million. Burial income support program and relocation of elderly citizens due to damage elder care facilities, some $14.5 million. Business reactivation, $25 million. A more detailed report on the use of the CRIP payouts is laid together with the 2025 appropriation bill. The prudent decision to expand CRIF to our utilities resulting in a significant payout to Grenlec of $9.3 million and Nawassa of US $2.2 million to support the quick restoration of power and water in affected areas. The actual set aside of 10% of National Transformation Fund receipts into the contingency fund for a rainy day fund to support recovery in the event of a major economic shock. As of December 1st, 2024, the fund balance stood at $44.9 million. Mr. Speaker, the government has decided not to access this fund to finance burial activities. While the former government heavily criticized our decision to reduce the percentage of the set aside of 40% to 10%, they did not put a dollar into the fund since the law was passed by them many months ago. And finally, Mr. Speaker, we did not have to impose a reconstruction levy on the backs of ordinary Grenadians to fund the rebuilding of the Grenada economy post-burial. Mr. Speaker, we have talked of deficit, of borrowings, of poor fiscal management. One only has to look back to the 3 years or so post-Hurricane Ivan to see deficit, financial shortfalls, and new burdensome tax in the name of shared sacrifice, and compare this to our response to Hurricane Beryl. Macroeconomic and social context. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the macroeconomic and social context in which the 2025 budget is presented. Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget is set against a complex macroeconomic drawback shaped by domestic and external factors. Robust economic performance in 2024, despite the devastating impact of a major hurricane, underscores Grenada's growing resilience. The near-term outlook is also favorable. Real GDP is forecasted to grow by 4.1% in 2025, driven by continued tourism demand and post-burial reconstruction activities, following the 3.7% realized in 2024. Mr. Speaker, consumer price declined in 2024 from the high levels experienced in 2023, held by government policy to keep prices down, including removal of VAT on basic food and other essential items and electricity and petroleum price subsidies. That notwithstanding, food inflation, although declining, remains unacceptably higher than overall inflation. Period average over inflation is forecasted to remain low and stable at around 0.9% over the medium term. Mr. Speaker, labor conditions have remained stable with a consistently low employment rate of around 12% in the last 2 to 3 years. With continued buoyant economic expansion in 2025, the unemployment rate is forecasted to decline further. Mr. Speaker, unprecedented citizenship by investment inflows and the CRIF insurance payout bolstered government fiscal position in 2024. A primary surplus of $432.9 million, or 11.3% of GDP, was realized in spite of extraordinary spending on account of Hurricane Beryl. Mr. Speaker, to continue this resilient recovery of the economy, the fiscal rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act will be further suspended in 2025 to allow for increased rehabilitation and reconstruction spending. Finally, on the domestic front, Mr. Speaker, the financial sector remains stable and sound, and external stability was well anchored in 2024. Looking ahead, financial sector conditions and external accounts are expected to improve, further reinforcing macroeconomic stability and growth. On the global front, economic growth is projected to remain stable at 3.3% in 2025, based on the most recent World Economic Outlook by the IMF. However, this positive outlook is pregnant with uncertainties fueled largely by ongoing geopolitical tensions and, more recently, protectionist policies in the United States. Additional details on the macroeconomic and social context for 2025 budget is included in the medium-term Economic and Fiscal Strategy Report 2025 to 2027, which is laid together with this appropriation 2025 bill. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the estimate of revenue and expenditure and the specific areas of intervention for 2025. Estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2025. Mr. Speaker, as per the philosophy of our administration in prioritizing the engagement of our citizens in this important aspect of our country's governance, we actively involve our people in widespread consultation on the 2025 budget. The resulting policies, projects, and programs have benefited from the rich insight of our citizens, for which we are most appreciative. I wish to record my sincere thanks to our citizens here at home and in the diaspora who embrace our participatory approach to governance and shared their ideas and suggestions with us, helping to shape the 2025 budget. Mr. Speaker, this third budget set our country and people on a more resilient and inclusive path, consolidating past gains and accelerating progress. It provides for a total expenditure principal repayments of $1,912,872,014. The overall budget summary is as follows. Recurrent revenue, $1,192.5 million. Total grants, $72.5 million. Recurrent expenditure, $1,105.9 million. Capital expenditure, $496.5 million. Current account surplus, $86.5 million. Principal repayment, that's amortization, EC $310.5 million, sorry. Primary deficit after grants, $208.6 million. Overall deficit after grant, $337.4 million. Mr. Speaker, while the rules and targets of the Fiscal Resilience Act merits further suspension in 2025, in light of the ongoing recovery and reconstruction post-Hurricane Beryl, our government is committed to fiscal prudence and a return to fiscal rules and targets once it is not harmful to macroeconomic stability to do so. Based on our assessment, the return to fiscal rules and target under the FRA will not be before 2027. That said, Mr. Speaker, a key aspect of the FRA is the wage bill ceiling of 13% of GDP will not be breached in 2025. Good faith salary negotiation for the next negotiation cycle will ensure compliance with the FRA and sustainable wage bill management beyond 2025. Financing of the 2025 budget. Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to report that the 2025 budget is fully financed. Of note, the overall deficit of 337.4 million will be largely financed from drawdowns from some 287.3 million of government deposits held in the consolidated fund. Details on the financing of the 2025 budget can be found on page 9 of the 2025 estimates of revenue and expenditure. Thematic areas. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the specific area of intervention underpinning the 2025 budget, aimed at strengthening resilience of our economy and accelerating high, sustained, inclusive growth and development. These interventions will be presented under 4 broad thematic areas, namely, the resilient recovery in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl, accelerating our transformative agenda in healthcare, housing, education, and skill development and renewable energy transition, expanding and diversifying our productive base, and investing in cross-cutting areas, rebuilding smarter after Beryl. Mr. Speaker, a deliberate and strategic approach has been taken to not only replace lost or damaged infrastructure and livelihoods, but to build back better. Mr. Speaker, in response to the Hurricane Beryl, we have so far pumped in excess of 100 million into the hands of ordinary Grenadians in the form of cash grants, building materials for roof and repairs, construction of new homes, business reactivation support, the farm labor and input support, among other critical needs. Mr. Speaker, in all our efforts, building resilience was at the forefront of our interventions. Today, significant progress has been made in rebuilding our country and restoring lives and livelihoods in more resilient and sustainable way. We have built resilience houses for low-income and vulnerable families. We provided material assistance as well as tax relief to homeowners who suffered level 1 and 2 or minor to moderate damage to help restore their lives. Through strategic partnership, we have secured some 47 prefabricated houses from our less fortunate citizens. To support livelihoods in agriculture and marine sector, cash grants, other forms of direct support have been provided to some 4,862 farmers and 279 fishing folk. The support to rebuild of our economy of Carriacou and Petimatic as of January 22nd, 2025, 49 grants amounting to 700 million, 0.7 million and 49 loans with total value of 2.1 million have been provided thus far. Through Project Pristine, we have largely restored the natural beauty of the Sister Isles and massive cleanup of the land and marine environment. We have made significant investment in Greener Solid Waste Management Authority to transform waste disposal and management and achieve environmental sustainability going forward. So far, $20.7 million have been expended on Project Pristine and equipment upgrade for Greener Solid Waste Management Authority. We have rehabilitated and restored critical public infrastructure, including roads and bridges, the Princess Royal Hospital medical facilities, schools, police stations, government offices. Despite the substantial progress in such a short period, Mr. Speaker, the road to full recovery is still a long and arduous one. Our government empathizes with our teachers and students, our public servants, our homeowners, our businesses, and ordinary Ghanaians who are still with the harsh realities of burial. We remain committed to providing the necessary support for as long as necessary to build a better and more resilient society, accelerating our transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, the people of Grenada voted for transformation. a pivot from the failed and visionless policies of the former administration. Our bold and visionary policies to transform our nation is taking root. Many of our people are talking about Project Polaris, our new hospital project. Project 500, our innovative housing solution. Project Skills, our laser-focused plan of upskilling and retooling our workforce with relevant skills, especially our young people. And Project Renewable Energy, aimed at energy security and lowering the cost of energy. Mr. Speaker, our people once more are hopeful and are beginning to see a bright future ahead. Undoubtedly, it is on the rise, towards progress, prosperity, and unity. As our Prime Minister declared in his independence address on February 7, 2025, I quote, "We are a great nation. There is a greatness in every one of us," end of quote. Allow me to elaborate on the key transformative pillars. Healthcare. Mr. Speaker, we remain steadfast in our trust to transforming our healthcare system into the healthcare capital of the Eastern Caribbean. Mr. Speaker, given the state of healthcare system that we inherited, our commitment to this nation on this issue is no easy feat. Yet we are undaunted and laser focused in addressing critical challenges facing the sector. In 2025, we will advance several critical initiatives to strengthen the health sector, improving service delivery, and lay the foundation for a transformative future. Strengthening organizational capacity. Mr. Speaker, we remain cognizant that efficient healthcare delivery depends on a well-structured and effectively managed system. With the support of Mount Sinai, one of the largest teaching hospitals in the United States, a comprehensive need assessment and quality improvement initiative of our current health system is underway to guide the development of the new hospital and broader health sector's reform. This assessment will evaluate gaps in the infrastructure, service delivery, human resources, and equipment needs. The findings will inform strategic planning and resource allocation to ensure that our investments are targeted and impactful. A key feature of the proposed reform is the statutorization of the hospitals. Strengthening human capacity. Healthcare is only as strong as the professionals who deliver it. In 2025, we will implement strategic measures to address critical human resource gap in the sector. We will involve conducting an HR audit, expanding training opportunities for health professionals, recruiting additional doctors, nurses, and specialized medical personnel, including implementing a specialized program to ensure adequate succession planning. Mr. Speaker, while we continue to diligently take the long-term HR challenges, incentivizing our doctors and nurses remains necessary to stem the attrition to other countries. Mr. Speaker, I'm therefore pleased to report that the Cabinet has agreed to extend the honorarium of $12,000 and $6,000 annually for doctors and nurses, respectively for 2025. Advancing Project Polaris. Mr. Speaker, one of the most transformative initiatives on our healthcare agenda is the construction of a new state-of-the-art hospital. The hospital will be designed to offer a higher standard of care, expanded specialist services, and improved diagnostic capabilities. In 2025, we'll focus on finalizing key aspects of the design and financing with the aim of breaking ground on the Hopeville site for the first half of 2026. An amount of $23.6 million has been allocated for this project in 2025. Additionally, the Cabinet has approved the establishment of a special fund at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, into which a sum of US $25 million is to be deposited as government contribution towards the overall financing of this project. Furthermore, a small percentage of all NTF receipts will be put aside monthly, commencing June 2025, and finalizing the legal requirements to support the smooth transition to the new hospital once completed. National health insurance, expanding access and affordability. Mr. Speaker, ensuring equitable access to the health care remains a priority of this administration. To this end, national health insurance is on the utmost priority. Regrettably, after many years, there is very little in terms of progress. That said, we are not interested in pointing fingers and ascribing blame on this game-changing initiative in transforming our health sector. This government simply committed to our fellow citizens, and I quote, "We will get the job done," end of quote. In 2025, we will advance the legislative and institutional framework needed for the implementation of the national insurance. This will include finalizing the coverage model, engaging stakeholders, and launching public awareness initiatives to ensure smooth implementation. An allocation of $2.4 million is made in this project under Vote 20. Strengthening mental health and wellness. Mr. Speaker, mental health and wellness is an integral part of this government health strategy. To this end, a new Ministry of Mental Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs has been created to give greater focus and strategic importance to these portfolios. In 2025, we are committed to expanding access to mental health services, reducing stigma and integration of mental health support into primary health care. Additionally, we would focus on strengthening the infrastructure of our mental health facilities to provide a more patient-centered approach, including the state-of-the-art construction of the Renewable Rehabilitation Center. The combined allocation for the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Mental Health and Wellness, Religious Affairs, is $171.3 million. Transforming education and skill development. Mr. Speaker, the foundation of any prosperous nation is a strong and resilient education system. Our government remains steadfast in its commitment to ensuring that our citizens, especially the youth, has access to quality education and skill needed to thrive in an evolving global economy. Building on yet another year of solid progress in the education sector, we will strengthen our effort on increasing, enhancing, and expanding technical and vocational training, upgrading schools' infrastructure, technology, and education financing. Increase access to education. Mr. Speaker, to reduce the financial barriers to learning, we introduced free tuition for students up to the tertiary level at the T.A. Marshall College and the New Life Organization. This historic initiative saved our hardworking parents and guardians in excess of $1 million and saw a record enrollment of students in these institutions. An amount of $1.5 million is allocated for the continuation of free tuition program in 2025. Added to this, Mr. Speaker, our government is pleased to introduce a new bus transportation pilot aimed at providing a safe and reliable transportation system for the future men and women of our country. The 6-month pilot, costing $0.8 million, will be offered free to students, but thereafter will be a cost-sharing formula when this initiative is implemented island-wide. Furthermore, government will continue to pursue scholarships opportunities for thousands of Grenadians, locally, regionally, and internationally. Our inaugural first-generation scholarship program is in collaboration with Monroe University, which targets a university graduate in every home. It's clear testimony of our commitment in this regard. Free hot meal programs. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to ensuring that no child goes hungry at our primary and secondary school. To this end, we implemented a free hot meal program that provides free nutritious meals to all students. This investment in our children's health will continue to improve concentration, reduce absenteeism, and support families facing financial strain. An amount of $5 million is allocated for the continuation of the free hot meal programs in 2025. Transforming infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, we are cognizant of the fact that some of our teachers and students are operating in less than suitable conditions. Hurricane Beryl exacerbated a school infrastructure system that was largely in a state of disrepair. We empathize with them and continue to thank them for their patience and understanding as we work to address the problems that are left unattended for many, many years. We are committed to building and maintaining modern and safe learning environments to support quality learning. In 2025, we are making an unprecedented investment in school infrastructure with plans to begin construction of several new schools, rehabilitate existing facilities, and retrofit math and science lab across the country. This includes the St. David's Catholic Secondary School. No objection to award contract already issued by the Procurement Board. Construction expected to commence in May of 2025. The St. Andrew's Anglican Primary School, the contract has been signed with construction to commence in May of 2025. The St. Giles Government School, 95% of the final design completed. Construction is expected to commence in July of 2025. The Florida Government School, civil works is expected to commence in June of 2025. The Grenada Christian Academy, under construction with 20% completed. Dover Government School, construction scheduled to commence in June of 2025. St. George's Anglican Senior, refurbishment scheduled to commence in June of 2025. Bonaire Government School, retrofitting of maths and science lab expected to commence in April of 2025. The St. Patrick Anglican Primary School, retrofitting of maths and science lab expected to commence in April of 2025. Equipping students with relevant skills. The demands of the modern workforce are changing rapidly, and our education system must evolve accordingly. In 2025, we'll focus on equipping students with practical and relevant skills, ensuring they are prepared for emerging industries. This includes expanding digital skills, training in schools to foster competence in areas such as coding, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. Strengthening technical and vocational education training, TVET, programs to produce a skilled workforce in areas such as construction, renewable energy, hospitality, and other high-demand sectors. Establishment of TVET centers of excellence, integrating entrepreneurship education to cultivate innovation and self-reliance among our young people. Mr. Speaker, these strategic interventions in education and skills development will empower our people, drive economic growth, and lay the foundation for a more competitive and resilient Grenada. Through bold investment and decisive action, we are securing the future of our nation, one student at a time. An amount of $183.4 million has been allocated for the education sector. Housing. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's significant housing deficit was further exacerbated by the devastation impacted of Hurricane Beryl. The post-disaster assessments indicate that roughly 2,304 houses were damaged, with 36% being severely damaged or totally destroyed. The destruction caused by the hurricane has underscored the need for a comprehensive housing strategy, one that not only rebuilds what was lost, but to strengthen our housing sector for the future. Our strategy has three main pillars. Our emergency housing recovery plan under the ambit of the Build Back Better project, which targets interventions in the critical areas. This includes reconstructing homes that were completely destroyed, with priority given to most vulnerable citizens. To date, 147 new houses are at various stages of completion. Conducting repairs and providing materials assistance to homeowners to help them rebuild their homes. Some 1,866 families have benefited from this material distribution assistance program or had repairs conducted to their homes. Offering concessions and other forms of financial support to families working to rebuild their homes. Some 318 families have received assistance totaling $7.5 million under the tax concession program to date. In 2025, allocation is made for the continuation of the Build Back Better project through Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. In addition to our emergency housing recovery plan, our government is taking proactive steps to reduce the housing deficit through our major flagship initiative, Project 500. This aims to construct 500 Grenada-style on both government and private lands, creating sustainable housing solution for our people. The initiative is well on the way with a pilot project in Dunfermline, where 17 motorhomes are currently under construction. An amount of $10 million has been allocated in the 2025 budget for this continuation of this project. Finally, Mr. Speaker, under the third pillar, government home improvement and soft loan programs. The government will continue to provide material assistance and soft loans to facilitate additional support measures, providing more Grenadians with access to affordable housing solutions. An amount of $15 million has been allocated in the 2025 budget for the continuation of these programs. Through these combined efforts, we remain committed to ensuring safe, resilient, and accessible housing for all Grenadians, reinforcing our nation's ability to withstand future emergency challenges. Renewable energy transition. In 2025, we will redouble our efforts geared towards supporting the diversification of our energy mix in the electricity sector and greening the transportation sector, with the goal of achieving energy security, lowering the cost of energy, and reducing our carbon footprint. Supporting electricity transitioning. Mr. Speaker, the government of Grenada is actively pursuing all viable opportunities to transition our energy sector through the development of solar photovoltaic system, geothermal energy, and wind power. This commitment aligns with our national energy policy and our broader goal of achieving energy security, reducing dependence on fossil fuels and building resilience in the face of climate change. At the forefront of this transition are three major renewable energy projects that will significantly enhance our energy infrastructure and sustainability. First, we are advancing our 15 megawatts geothermal project. This initiative has potential to provide a stable and reliable source of clean energy, reducing our reliance on imported fossil fuel and strengthening the resilience of our electricity grid. Phase 2 will cover exploratory drilling is currently underway, and we will remain committed to unlocking Grenada's geothermal potential. Mr. Speaker, I wish to place on record my sincere thanks to the United Kingdom government for the generous donation of $10 million towards the project. An amount of $3.6 million is allocated for this project in 2025. Second, the government is facilitating the establishment of a solar PV system at the Maurice Bishop International Airport as a utility-scale independent power producer project. This initiative will contribute to the country's renewable energy mix and demonstrate the viability of large-scale solar investment. To support this and future IPP project, the government is making critical investment in the necessary infrastructure, ensuring a conducive environment for private sector participation in renewable energy generation. Grenada plans to contribute US $10 million towards the Caribbean Renewable Energy Infrastructure Investment Facility, a fund created by the ECCB to finance private sector projects in this area. Third, we are embarking on a transformative project to install solar PV system on government buildings. This initiative is not only to reduce public sector electricity costs, but also to serve as a model for sustainable energy use. Importantly, the project includes critical upgrades to the national transmission and distribution network, along with battery storage solution to enhance grid stability and accommodate increased renewable energy generation. Mr. Speaker, this project is funded through the grant and concessional loans from the World Bank, the Caribbean Development Bank, and the Clean Energy Technology Fund, and will be executed jointly with GRENLEC. An amount of 1.6 million is allocated for the rollout of this project in 2025. Mr. Speaker, these projects underscore our government's commitment to clean energy future. By expanding renewable energy generation, modernizing our infrastructure, and fostering private sector participation, we are laying the foundation for a more sustainable and energy-secure Grenada. Greening the transport sector. Mr. Speaker, to accelerate the transition to a greener transport sector, the government will build on existing measures such as the removal of duties and taxes on renewable energy vehicles. Furthermore, the government will lead by example by transitioning its vehicle fleet to electric and hybrid models. As a decisive step, we are setting aside 25% target for all new government vehicles purchased in 2025 to be either electric or hybrid, reinforcing our commitment to sustainability, expanding and diversifying our economic base. Mr. Speaker, a robust economy delivering sustainable jobs is the bedrock of our thriving society. Through solid economic management, innovative policies, and sustained investment in both existing and emerging sectors, we are committed to transforming our economy, ensuring that our people not only adapt to the changes of tomorrow, but thrive in an ever-evolving global landscape. Our strategy place strong emphasis on private sector-led growth, complemented by proactive government policies that create an enabling environment for businesses and entrepreneurs to succeed. This collaborative framework will drive the development across key sectors, strengthening resilience and unlocking new opportunities in sectors such as agriculture, tourism, the digital and blue economy, agricultural food security, and nutrition security. Mr. Speaker, agriculture remains a cornerstone for our economy, and our vision to modernize and expand the sector for greater productivity, sustainability, and food security. Our vision for this sector was dealt a major blow in July of last year. The impact resulted in untold hardship for our farmers and fisher folks, who saw their lives and livelihoods upended yet another natural disaster. In the wake of this disaster, the government acted swiftly to provide much-needed relief. Through the emergency response plan, we invested roughly $32 million in income support, farm labor support, and farm input assistance, helping farmers, fisher folks regain stability and begin the recovery process. But our work does not stop there. In 2025, we are deepening our commitment to revitalizing agriculture through strategic interventions that will build resilience, enhance productivity, and drive long-term growth. An allocation of $32.4 million has been made in the 2025 estimates to fund various projects in agriculture. The Minister for Agriculture will highlight some of these key initiatives in his presentation. Tourism, creative economy, and culture. Mr. Speaker, tourism is one of the main pillars of Grenada's economy, providing thousands of jobs and contributing significantly to GDP. Thankfully, the sector was largely untouched during the passage of Hurricane Beryl and was primarily responsible for the robust economic performance in 2024. Notwithstanding the strong rebound of the sector in the post-COVID-19 period and its significant contribution to employment and GDP, much more needs to be done to harness the full potential of the sector. Mr. Speaker, our government is committed to realization of the full potential of the sector through targeted interventions. To this end, it is imperative that we fully integrate and leverage the potential of the creative economy and cultural industries, both of which are intrinsically linked to our tourism project. In 2025, as a first step, we have made a portfolio realignment by bringing the portfolios of tourism, creative economy, and culture under one umbrella to exploit synergies and show up opportunities. By strengthening the linkages between tourism, culture, and creative economy, we can increase visitor spend, extend the stay, and create new avenues for sustainable economic growth. In 2025, the focus will be on traveling, expanding LF, product enhancement, and expanding the Creative Industries Fund, and growing of our festivals. An allocation of $37.4 million has been made in the 2025 budget to fund various policies, projects, and programs in support of the integration of tourism sector, the creative economy, and culture. The blue economy and marine affairs. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's marine and coastal resources offer significant opportunity for economic growth, environmental conservation, and community resilience. To harness this asset sustainably, the government has established the Ministry of the Blue Economy and Marine Affairs to drive an inclusive and transformative agenda. The government aims to position Grenada as a regional and global leader in sustainable ocean-based development, leveraging strategic investment and sound policies and strong partnership to promote economic diversification, climate resilience, and innovation while enhancing livelihoods. Key pillars for transformation include sustainable marine resource management, expanding marine protected areas to cover 30% of our coastal ecosystem by 2030, reducing illegal fishing by 50% by 2027, and integrating climate adaptation into marine governance. Fisheries transformation, increasing fish production and export by 20% by 2028, ensuring 80% of our fishing households adopt climate-smart practices by 2030, and improving market access for fishers. Blue economy diversification, developing marine biotechnology, renewable ocean energy, and sustainable marine tourism, attracting $100 million investments by 2030, and supporting 20 blue economy startups by 2027. Coastal community empowerment, strengthening community participation in marine management, boosting coastal income by 30%, reducing food insecurity by 20% by 2030, and enhancing disaster resilience. Governance and institutional strength in building a highly competent ministry, enforcing transparency and accountability, and implementing performance-based policies. An allocation of $36.9 million has been made in the 2025 budget to fund various projects to drive this new engine of growth. Rebuilding a stronger economy and people, Carrick-1 Petit Martinique. Mr. Speaker, one of the most defining moments of our nation's recent history occurred on July 1st, 2024, when Hurricane Beryl ravaged Carriacou, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. However, in the face of adversity, the resilience of our people shone through. From the very first moments of the hurricane, our government committed to rebuild a stronger and resilient Carriacou Petit Martinique. Today, I'm pleased to report that significant progress has been made. The cleanup of both land and marine environments has restored a sense of normalcy. Homes and businesses have been rebuilt, and government operations have resumed. Most importantly, Economic activity once again gaining momentum, but our work is far from over. In 2025, we'll continue to press forward with strategic investment aimed at building back better. The budget for CARIC 1 PT Martin has increased from $33.4 million in 2004 to $44 million in 2025, a clear demonstration of our commitment to the full recovery and transformation of our sister island. Mr. Speaker, CARIC 1 PT Martin is rising once again. The spirit of resilience and determination that defines our people is stronger than ever. The Minister for CARIC 1 Diplomatic Affairs will further elaborate on the key interventions planned for 2025. Youth and sports development. Mr. Speaker, as we continue the journey of economic transformation, we recognize that our young people are the backbone of our nation's future. Investing in youth development and sport is not just a social priority. It is a strategic imperative. Sports in particular holds immense potential as a new engine of growth, fostering employment, entrepreneurship, and national pride while promoting health and social cohesion. Sports as an economic driver. Canada has long been known for its sporting talent, with our athletes excelling on the regional and international stages. However, to fully harness the economic potential of sport, we must transition from viewing it solely as a recreational activity to a viable industry that generates investments and opportunities for our youth. In 2025, we will focus on expanding sports tourism, infrastructure development, including the lighting of the National Stadium, construction of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and the upgrading of the Las Angeles playing facility. Incentivizing and empowering our athletes. Youth development, fostering leadership and participation. Beyond sports, our young people must be actively engaged in shaping the future of Grenada. We are committed to ensuring that participation in all spheres of national development. Key initiatives for 25 include Youth Parliament, strengthening platform for young people to engage in governance, policy making, and national dialogue. Skill development program, expanding training beyond traditional skills to include digital economy skills, entrepreneurship and innovation, ensuring our youth are equipped for the jobs of the future. Youth economic inclusion, providing funding, mentorship, and networking opportunities to help young entrepreneurs establish a business or businesses in agriculture, sports, technology, and other emerging industries. Mr. Speaker, one of our flagship programs in 2025 is our Elevate Her program, which targets young women, especially heads of household, with necessary skills and financial and other support to improve their way of life and contribution to national development. Mr. Speaker, by investing in youth and sport, we are only nurturing talents, but also laying the foundation for a dynamic and diversified economy. Our young people are ready to lead, and this government stands ready to support the ambitions, whether on the playing field, in government, in national leadership. It's our commitment to build a future where youth and sport are central pillars of government economic transformation. An allocation of $68.9 million has been made in 2025 budget to fund various policy projects and programs in the area of youth and sports development. Digital transformation. Mr. Speaker, our vision to transforming Grenada not only as a connoisseur of digital technology, but as a creator is taking shape. In just over 2.5 years, we have achieved the following among other major accomplishments. We have digitized the application process for passports and are on the verge of digitizing other certificates such as birth certificates and other government services, thereby reducing the time and cost for accessing these services. We have digitized the application process for pension life certificates renewal. That will be a very important thing for the pensioners. Expand the network of free wireless access points in every community, school, government office, tourism site, and recreational parks. Expand education and training in coding and other critical IT skills. Launch phase 1 of the Digital Workforce Initiative in collaboration with Cyber Nations Canada to provide international recognized cybersecurity training and certification and work opportunities. May I remind everyone, Mr. Speaker, that Grenada under the former administration held the position of ICT lead for CARICOM for many years, with nothing to show for it. Mr. Speaker, make that make sense. Mr. Speaker, in 2025, the focus will be on establishing a digital transformation agency and further reinforcing the foundations of our digital economy. More information on our achievements and detailed plan for digital transformation will be provided during the budget debate. Investing in cross-cutting areas. Mr. Speaker, as we drive the comprehensive transformation of the Grenada society, we must invest strategically in cross-cutting areas that create synergies across multiple sectors. This includes investing in resilient physical infrastructure, promoting private sector development, modernizing labor relations, safeguarding citizens' safety and security, and investing in social and community development, among others. I will now elaborate on some of these cross-cutting areas. Transforming our physical infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, transforming our physical infrastructure landscape is fundamental to expanding the diversifying Grenada's economic base, and more broadly speaking, transforming our economy and society. Mr. Speaker, this will require significant investment in resilient infrastructure over many years. In 2025, strategic initiative and investment will include Grenada Resilient Infrastructure Project, Cliff Road Rehabilitation Project, coastal protection of the shoreline of Soteres Bay, we normally call it the breakwater, the South St. George Water and Sewage Expansion Project, the G-Cruise Project, the St. John's River Mitigation Project, Feeder Roads Project, Bridges Rehabilitation Project, and Hurricane Barreling Response Initiative. An allocation of $150.7 million has been made in the 2025 budget to fund various projects and programs in the area of infrastructure development, public utilities, civil aviation, and transportation. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister, the Minister responsible for infrastructure will elaborate on major initiatives, interventions under this portfolio. Social and community development. Mr. Speaker, a robust protection system is essential for reducing poverty. Promoting economic participation and ensuring that no one is left behind in Grenada's development journey. In 2025, the government remains committed to protecting the most vulnerable while fostering opportunities for self-sufficiency and economic empowerment. Building on these significant progress made, including the strengthening of the National Insurance Scheme, the introduction of permanent unemployment insurance benefit program, and the better targeting of our support for education, empowerment, development, the SADE. Key initiatives for 2025 include continued support for the SADE program with enhancement to ensure that greater efficiency and impact for beneficiaries. Continuation of the multi-project for the elderly. Mr. Speaker, is also committed to foster resilient communities through investments in community infrastructure and grassroots. Furthermore, government will continue to support policies and programs that promote gender inclusivity and equality. As we are one day away from the universal celebration of International Women's Day 2025, we reaffirm our dedication to advancing the rights and opportunities of our women and girls in the state of Grenada, ensuring the full participation in our national development. Permit me, Mr. Speaker, to wish our women a happy International Women's Day. An allocation of 85.1 million has been made in the 2025 budget to fund various policy projects and programs in the area of social and community development and gender affairs. Mobilization, implementation, and transformation. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, MIT, was established to enhance coordination with the government and improve the execution of policies, programs, and projects. In 2025, our government will further strengthen collaboration across all sectors to accelerate national development, ensuring that our economic and social policies align with our overarching vision for transformation. Through this cross-cutting strategy, we are reinforcing our commitment to building a stronger, more prosperous, and resilient Grenada, one where progress is not only envisioned but actively realized. To this end, several long-standing World Bank funded projects have been transferred to this Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation to remove bottlenecks and accelerate implementation. The result thus far has been extremely promising, demonstrating the effectiveness of this strategic approach. An allocation of EC 47.8 million has been made in the 2025 budget to support the implementation of key policies and initiatives, ensuring sustained progress towards national development goals. Promoting private sector development. Mr. Speaker, the Grenada Investment Development Corporation, GIDC, continues to play a critical role in attracting and facilitating private sector investment in Grenada. In 2024, the GIDC generated 238 investment leads, a 31.5% increase from previous year, with local investment showing great potential. These leads span in key sectors including manufacturing, tourism, agribusiness, health and wellness, ICT, and services reflecting the country's diverse investment opportunities. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, the GIDC processed 65 applications for investment in its incentives, surpassing an annual target of 163%. This results in an approval of 61 projects with a combined EC 80 million in proposed investment and the creation of overall 800 permanent jobs. Additionally, 66 projects commenced operations, generating 564 direct jobs, a 14% increase over 2023. To build on the strong momentum, the government is committed to enhancing GIDC's capacity effectiveness in 2025. Key focus areas include expanding investment promotion efforts, strengthening engagement with international and regional investors through targeted roadshows, trade missions, digital marketing campaigns, strengthening the investment approvals process, enhancing efficiency in processing applications and approvals to create a more investor-friendly environment, leveraging strategic partnership, collaborating with multilateral agencies and development partners to unlock new investment opportunities, leveraging the hosting of the Afro-Caribbean Trade Investment Conference in July of this year, a major platform to showcase Grenada's investment potential to regional and global stakeholders. By prioritizing this initiative, Grenada will further strengthen its investment climate, increase capital flows, drive economic diversification, and expand job creation opportunities. Support for MSME development. Mr. Speaker, we reiterate the crucial importance of supporting the creation of new micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise and expansion of existing ones in delivering sustainable jobs throughout the state of Grenada. In 2025, the following intervention will be pursued in this regard. One, the extension of the incentive package for non-priority sectors on selective building materials, equipment, capital, goods, and other critical inputs. Two, the extension of the MSME concession for priority sectors. 3, the repurposing of EC 7 million in the existing funds at the Grenada Development Bank as equity contribution to support business lending. 4, the recapitalization of Small Business Development Fund administered by the GDP with an injection of 3 million. 5, the provision of competitive matching innovation grants up to US $30,000 for beneficiary through the Grenada Investment Development Corporation as part of the OECD Scale Innovation Project. 6, the provision of grant financing to farmers through TB as part of the Challenge Grant Component GCRIS project. The provision of grant financing by the Ministry of Agriculture to support young farmers through the Curriculum Development Fund support Youth in Agriculture Initiative. Strengthening the CBI by investment program. Mr. Speaker, Grenada's CBI program continues to evolve. It is now a noteworthy contributor to government's revenue, tourism, and job creation. Our programs continue to be one of the best, with deeply enhanced, robust due diligence exercise. In 2024, Grenada and 4 other CBI jurisdictions in the Eastern Caribbean signed a memorandum of agreement which inter alia call for establishment of an independent regional regulator for the industry. Legislative drafting and consultation have commenced with a plan to have the independent regional regulator operated by mid-2026. Mr. Speaker, Citizen by Investment Program is also very innovative. We have listened to the genuine advocacy of local businessmen and women for their participation in the program. While there are already a few local developers who have successfully marketed their projects, the year ahead will witness a ramping up of such projects. Mr. Speaker, this government in the coming weeks will pass amendment regulations to reduce 70% of all fees that are being paid by local Grenadian developers with new projects in any priority economic sector under the CBI program. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, we will facilitate the mentoring and coaching of our local Grenadian developers with international developers to help them execute their projects with utmost efficiency. Prudent economic management. Mr. Speaker, we continue to manage the Grenada economy with distinction. No amount of old talk and disinformation will change that fact. The International Monetary Fund, in a release published on July 24, 2025, commended our government in a release published on July 2025, commended our government for the excellent and stewardship of the economy. This is the 3rd commendation in a row. Moreover, they lauded our decisive and strategic handling of the Hurricane Beryl. Mr. Speaker, other reputable and international organizations have expressed similar sentiments. This speaks volumes, Mr. Speaker, about our ability to lead, not only in times of calm, but also in times of crisis. Building on our strong record of fiscal discipline, aggressive resource mobilization, and prudent debt management, we will press ahead with ambitious reforms to maintain economic stability and build resilience towards achieving robust, sustained, and inclusive growth. Modernization and labor relations. Mr. Speaker, we remain steadfast in our commitment to modernize labor relations to ensure that the needs of both the employer and employees are met. As promised, We met our commitment to the workers by addressing the minimum wage, a matter of zero significance for the former administration. In 2025, we will continue to modernize labor relations by updating our labor laws, enhancing dialogue with stakeholders, and enhancing the dispute resolution mechanism. Through these efforts, we aim at fostering good labor relations and maintaining industrial peace, enhancing the governance of state bodies. Mr. Speaker, we are continuing to make good progress in strengthening the governance and fiscal management of public institutions. As I speak, 125 directors have completed the Directors' Education and Accreditation Program at the Corporate Governance Institute of Canada, facilitated by the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. Further, Mr. Speaker, we have issued a governance and fiscal management handbook for public sector institutions, which aims to bring about clear guidance on how they should operate within the legal, fiscal, and governance framework provided by various legislative instruments and best practice. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware of the legacy of the former administration regarding oversight of statutory bodies and state-owned enterprise, so I spare you the details here. National security, home affairs, information, and disaster management. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to work diligently to maintain Grenada's reputation as one of the safest places in the region and the world to work and live as a model of disaster management. My government priorities for 2025 are as follows. We are committed to reducing crimes through targeted initiative, community partnership, and leveraging modern technology for law enforcement. We will invest in advanced crime prevention technology, expand community policing, and introduce tougher measures to address organized crime and repeat offenders. Legislation will be introduced for the installation of the CCTV cameras in public spaces across the country. We will remain steadfast in the efforts to enhance the working conditions of the Royal Grenada Police Force and His Majesty's Prison to ensure greater efficiency and effectiveness in maintaining law and order. To this end, we have accomplished a significant milestone by relocating the police headquarters from Fort George to the Coronage, a long-awaited and welcome move by many Grenadians. Added to that, the Granville Police Station will be relocated to the former M&IB Granville location very soon. Going forward, we will be taking proactive steps to improve the other police stations, including the Coast Guard base, the prison system. Additionally, we will be strengthening the human resource capacity of both police and prisons in 2025. To improve passenger clearance, we commissioned on Thursday, March 6 in particular, 6 new kiosks at the Maurice Bishop International. We will replace physical ID cards with an online version and upgrade the seafarer's ID passport and emergency travel document to meet international standards. We are committed to enhancing financial security through a public sensitization program at the Financial Intelligence Unit to educate citizens on preventing scams and securing their finances. We will introduce an automated system for the application and certification process for permanent residents, citizens, including citizenship by investment and alien land holding license. Additionally, we will transition the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, into a statutory entity to improve preparedness, response, and recovery efforts. For the Government Information Service Program and Parliamentary, we will focus on rebuilding human capacity and upgrading equipment to enhance productivity and broaden service delivery to the wider population. A combined total allocation of $133.9 million is allocated in this 2025 budget to support national security, information, disaster, and management systems. Prioritizing foreign policy and trade. Mr. Speaker, as Grenada navigates global challenges and advances its transformation agenda, we remain focused on strengthening external relationships and trade. In 2025, government will enhance diplomatic engagement, promote South-South cooperation, and deepen ties with Africa and Asian Pacific nations, strengthen Caribbean regional integration, and advocating for small state development in global forums to also be central to our efforts. In the area of trade, the government will enhance trade and export facilitation by reducing barriers, improving export readiness, and supporting value-added production. Focus will be placed on streamlining processes, leveraging trade agreements, trade promotion, and providing technical assistance, particularly in agriculture and manufacturing. An amount of $23.5 million has been allocated in the 2025 budget to support foreign policy and trade. Economic reforms. Mr. Speaker, this budget is responsive to the near-term challenge as well as the long-term development needs of our nation. In this section, I will elaborate on the reform of existing policies to enhance long-term growth and competitiveness and relief measures to reduce the impact of inflation on the population. Structural policies. Mr. Speaker, to support our transformative agenda, the following structural reforms will be implemented in 2025. 1, development and implementation of a policy on the procurement, maintenance, and disposal of government vehicles. Mr. Speaker, efficient management of the government vehicle fleet is critical to ensuring cost effectiveness, accountability, and operational efficiency in public service delivery. To address long outstanding challenges related to vehicle acquisition, maintenance, and disposal, the government is advancing comprehensive policy reform. This policy will establish clear guidelines for the procurement, maintenance, and disposal of government vehicles to improve transparency, reduce costs, enhance fleet efficiency. The Grenada Transport Commission will drive the development of this policy. Amendment to the importation policy on used vehicles. Mr. Speaker, as part of our strategy to ease the congestion of traffic on our nation's road and improve road safety and environmental concerns, we'll amend the current policy on the We will amend the current policy on importation of used vehicles. The existing restriction, which prohibits importation of vehicles 10 years and older, will be revised downwards after consulting widely on the issue. The new policy will take effect no later than June 2025. Cost of living measures. Mr. Speaker, since assuming office, the government has taken decisive steps to mitigate the impact of inflation, recognizing our heavy reliance on goods imported without these interventions, ordinary Grenadians would face significant higher prices, particularly for essential items such as food and fuel. While global inflation has eased compared to previous years, Mr. Speaker, price pressures persist due to supply chain disruption, geopolitical tension, and climate-related shocks. As a small island developing state, Grenada remains highly vulnerable to external economic conditions, which continue to drive up cost of living. That said, Mr. Speaker, this government remains committed to shielding citizens from the adverse effect of high prices for as long as necessary, particularly for essential goods and services. In the 2025 budget, the following cost of living measures will remain in effect. 1, extension of VAT exemption on essential goods. To ease the financial burden on the household goods, government will extend the VAT exemption on 20 basic items and essential food, ranging from cooking oils to baby diapers to all female sanitaries, hygiene products including sanitary napkins, tampons, panty liners for an additional year, effective January 1st, 2025, with a view with a review scheduled for December 25. The full list of items can be found in Appendix 2. The estimated revenue foregone for these measures is $3.1 million. Mr. Speaker, while we had intended to further protect consumer by placing these items under formal price control for monitoring by the Consumer Affairs Division, this step was not completed in 2024. However, we remain fully committed to implementing these measures in the near term to prevent price gouging and ensure that savings reach the consumers. Maintaining the fixed price on cooking gas. The government will continue to cap the price on the 20-pound gas cylinder at $40, helping to cushion households from fluctuations in global energy prices. The estimated revenue foregone in this measure will be $2 million. 3, reduction in petrol tax. To mitigate the impact of high fuel costs, government will maintain the reduced petrol tax at $3.50 per gallon instead of the $5.50 per gallon on duty-paid sales. This measure alone is not expected to result. This measure alone is expected to result in $26.9 million in foregone revenue. Electricity subsidy for low consumption households. To support low-income households, government will maintain the $10 monthly electricity subsidy for all residential consumers using up to 99 kilowatts per month at an estimated cost of $3 million. The following new cost of living measures will be introduced. Public transport subsidy. Mr. Speaker, our bus fares, which are regulated by the government, have not increased over a decade. That said, our bus operators are faced with high and rising operational costs, are legitimately seeking an increase in bus fares. Recognizing the impact of an increase in bus fare on the population, government is introducing a public transportation subsidy to support bus operators and maintain affordability for commuters. Through this initiative, the government, through the Grenada Transport Commission, will provide direct subsidy to registered bus operators to help offset the increasing cost of fuel and maintenance. This measure is designed to subsidize operational expenses and in turn maintain the current regulated bus fares, preventing undue financial burden on the traveling public. The annual cost of the subsidy is estimated at $12 million. Mr. Speaker, in total, this targeted relief package represents an investment of over $47 million, a 75% increase over 2024 in direct support to Grenadian households. These measures underscore our commitment to protecting the most vulnerable while balancing our need for long-term fiscal stability. As global economic conditions evolve, we will continue to monitor external developments and take proactive steps to safeguard our people from economic shocks. Conclusion. Mr. Speaker, as we reflect on our journey through 2024, we stand as a testament to resilience, determination, unwavering commitment to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martin. Despite the trials of Hurricane Barry and the excessive rains in November, we do not falter. Instead, we rose to the occasion, delivering on our promises and securing a brighter future for our people. Indeed, we have demonstrated that we are a government at work, promises made, promises kept. Our nation has witnessed the fulfillment of long overdue reform, from long minimum wage adjustment to the historic implementation of the contributory pension plan. We have empowered our youth through digital skills training, increased wages for our e-money workers, and ensured that no child goes hungry in our schools. Our Our economic growth has remained strong, investor confidence is unwavering, and our people are finding opportunities to thrive. But, Mr. Speaker, even as we celebrate these achievements, we remain mindful that our work is not done. We press forward knowing that our strength and wisdom come not from ourselves alone, but from the Almighty God. For, as Philippians 4:13 reminds us, open quote, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We remain humbled by this responsibility, fully aware that to whom much is given, much is required. Luke 12:48. We are called not only to govern, but also to serve, ensuring that no one is left behind, from our children to our youth to our elderly. As we look ahead to the next 25 years, we call on our Grenadians to unite in the spirit of nation building and collective progress. For as Proverbs 29:18 states, where there is no vision, the people perish. Our vision is clear, a resilient rising Grenada, one that stands firm on the foundation of equity, prosperity, and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, let us move forward in unity, putting Grenada first in all that we do. Let us build a legacy worthy of future generations, ensuring that we leave behind is greater than what we inherited. With renewed energy and unwavering commitment, we affirm our pledge to work tirelessly for you, the people of Grenada, in 2025 under the theme, and I quote, towards Vision 75, Grenada resilient and rising, end of quote. May God bless Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Let us unite, let us build, let us rise. Acknowledgements. Mr. Speaker, it would be remiss of me if I did not take this opportunity to thank all our friends and partners who have helped us through our journey. As you can appreciate, our list of acknowledgement is extremely long. Therefore, a detailed listing can be found in Appendix 3 of this statement. Permit me, however, to mention just a few. We cannot thank enough our Creator. Allow me to reiterate sincere gratitude to the Prime Minister and my cabinet colleagues, who have a great team of men and women who love Grenada and are committed to serving you. I wish to also thank all those who contributed to the preparation and presentation of the 2025 budget and accompanying documents, including the staff of the various ministries, departments, statutory bodies, state-owned enterprises, and other public officers. Permit me especially to thank the Permanent Secretary, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Advisor, and staff of the Ministry of Finance who have worked tirelessly in the past years in a less than ideal working environment. I must mention the Attorney General and our staff, the Cabinet Secretary, the Director of GIS, and staff, the Press Secretary, and many others who played various roles in budget preparation and presentation process. I wish to record my thanks to you, Mr. Speaker, and the Clerk of Parliament and his staff who have given me full support in facilitating delivery of my presentation. Mr. Speaker, finally, allow me to reiterate my appreciation to my constituents of St. Patrick East for their support and confidence in my representation in this honorable House. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you, or bless us all.
Thank you, Minister for Finance, for presenting the statement of revenue and expenditure to this honorable House. Honorable Minister for Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to address the resolution for the estimate of revenue and expenditure for the year. No, that's not it. That's not it. Yes, another resolution. Whereas it's necessary to provide for the state of Grenada. Sorry. Let's stop here. Yes, resolution for the purpose of Section 9(5) of the Fiscal Resilience Act, number 11 of 2023. Whereas Section 9(1) of the Fiscal Resilience Act, number 11 of 2023, hereinafter referred as the Act, provides that the Minister may, subject to negative resolution, suspend the public debt That's correct.
Honorable Minister for Finance. Yes, please resume your seat. Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honorable House be adjourned until Monday, March 10th
11.
at 9 a.m. in the forenoon. Thank you.
Honorable members, the question is that this Honorable House be adjourned until Monday, March 11 at 9 a.m. in the forenoon.
Mr. Speaker, with your leave, a point of correction, March 10, not 11.
Oh, before me, I'm seeing thanks. I'm seeing 11. Thank you. So let me just take the question again, honorable members. The question is that this Honorable House be adjourned until Monday, March 10 at 9 a.m. in the forenoon. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary opinion say no. This Honorable House stands adjourned until Monday, March 10 at 9 a.m. in the forenoon. Thank you.
Home point updated. Takeoff. Home point updated.
There we had it, the budget presentation there by Minister of Finance, Denis Cornwall. Just about 2 hours, long. Just 2 hours. A budgetary amount of $1,912,872,014. Many plans and programs, the policy, directive of the government. We just heard there from the Finance Minister. And as we anticipated, Pastor Warm, a recovery budget in that for Carriacou. Some of the pillars of the budget spoke to that of housing. And we know most of Carriacou's housing stock was damaged during burial, and that of healthcare. We spoke, it's almost as if we anticipated well.
Absolutely. And of course, as we said earlier on, eyes would be turned onto Carriacou. Interestingly, I was across there just about a week and a half ago to be able to look and see what was taking place there. the recovery process, a little on the slower side, I dare say, and one would understand because we had our own challenge back in 2004 when Hurricane Ivan hit us.
Yes.
And it was quite a task in rebuilding. But I think once you get certain things out of the way, the rebuilding process is going to speed up. So it was really refreshing to hear that there are quite a substantial allocation for the restoration work in Carriacou. That's needed more than anything else. And the fact that there are so many people still displaced. Many individuals have come either to the mainland, gone to Caribbean countries. And into international countries too. A lot of people really want to get back into their homes and settle back down to a normal life.
Yes, yes. Home is home, and home will always be home, right?
That's correct. Yes.
While, yes, we understand that you will be displaced after a hazard would have affected us, home will always be home. But also some incentives out there for some of the people who have been making a clarion call for a while. Our bus operators are getting a subsidy. The honorarium for our doctors and nurses will continue. It's extended for this year. Among other things, we also have education. The transformation or transforming of our education institutions. We have been hearing about some of the comments that parents would make as relates to that. So the transformation agenda of government was clearly detailed in this year's plan as to what's happening. And also the same thing we were speaking of before the budget, that of entering new markets, other markets with some of the challenges we notice, we foresee and may encounter along the way with some of the traditional markets that we have always worked with. We hear of new Africa, as we were speaking to, and other countries in the budget presentation. So we see that government is, or rather would have presented a budget that would allow us to be flexible somewhat in all that's happening with the external forces.
Yes, you're sure right. I was glad to hear the minister referring to extending our borders, so to speak, in terms of foreign relationship.
Yes, yes.
That is so very important. And I think for every country, you want to have a good foreign relationship package. You want to ensure that you keep those countries that were fraternal to you, friendly to you, but also seek to get other friends. Now, we really cannot do this alone. No country is really independent from that aspect, from that arm. You would need support, you would need friendly countries out there who will come to your rescue. And it's not always about coming to your rescue. It's about you also seeking to help when their time comes for assistance, as the case may be. So it's nice to hear the minister talked about just expanding our vision a little bit more and ensuring that we get our foreign policies right and we get some more friends on board to help us through economic difficulties and challenges.
Yes. And I think those things are critical. They are very, very critical. In addition to that, the investment climate. We also heard a lot about that, that on the manufacturing sectors, tourism, some agribusiness, that are some of the areas, focus areas of government on that of investments. The CBI continued work on the what's the new name now, the MIA? Yes, continue with the CBI program, and we know that we recognize that some of the external forces and that of the CBI program we recognize that some of the bigger countries now are providing some competition to it. So it means that we must stay current, and to do so, then we have to continue to upgrade, yes? And I think we recognize that. That was one of the things, one of the highlights of the budget too.
Yeah, we heard, of course, President Trump, of course, who is talking about the gold card.
Yes.
And controversial as it might be,
it's competition.
All our countries are now looking as to how they can develop and increase revenues.
Yes, so we have to work with the time to ensure that we are ready to respond when additional competition comes on board.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think now is the right time for us to introduce our guest. With the conclusion of the presentation of the budget, it's tradition that we get to speak to key players, but this time around we'll be doing it different. We'll be speaking to one person and one very important person today. Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, welcome. to the broadcast, and thank you so much for being here with us.
No, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. I see we seem to be all
Coordinating our colours.
today, so it's a pleasure.
I saw that
It's a
when you sat
pleasure to be here.
inside.
Well, I should admit, Prime Minister, that there was a bit of coordination between myself and Orton, but
All right, well, I've joined
yours
the
is
party.
coincidental.
Yes,
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
but we welcome. We welcome. Third budget. The first one, it was you. I remember having to go for 3 hours. That was an interesting one. Now you have passed on the baton to Minister Cornwall. It is, as I was speaking to Pastor Worm, my first question to you today is, how is it to govern at this time? To prepare a budget, Hurricane Beryl last year, all the external forces, all the things that are happening in the world. As a small island developing state, as the leader of a small island developing state, there must be a different level of commitment, dedication, some sleepless nights, I'm sure, very stressful experience with all that's happening. And how do you continue to guide us to ensure we stay afloat, we continue to flourish, and that while, yes, the externals can affect us, but we can still keep our heads above water?
Well, I think, no question, it's a difficult task, but there are a couple of things that I think are going for us. One, as Minister Cornwall said in his speech, you noticed there were several biblical quotes in there. And I think we recognize that we are blessed, despite the challenges that we've had, by the support of the Almighty. I think the second factor is really the resilience and support of our people. You know, post-Hurricane Beryl, it wasn't just the government, but it was the volunteers, the Grenadians who rose despite their own circumstances to help others. You know, in Carriacou and Peach Martinique, many of the volunteers and public officers who worked themselves lost their homes. But yet still they were out doing what they could to assist others in need. So I think just recognizing that there are persons who themselves were on the brunt of the damage caused by Hurricane Beryl, and that they were prepared to sacrifice, notwithstanding, and give up being with their own families to ensure that they could help others, was inspiring. And so for me, as the Prime Minister of the country, with no damage done to me or to my family, it was important that I spent as much time as possible supporting and encouraging and motivating all of us to try and rally to the cause. So I think that has been a tremendous factor. Our regional support as well has been, as you can see, consistent. It has been strong, both in terms of financial support, material support, the solidarity and the encouragement. So CARICOM has played a tremendous role in helping us rebuild. Guyana, for example, kept troops in Carriacou for an extended period of time, not just providing security, but enormous capacity in terms of rebuilding government facilities, from the police stations to the courthouses to some of the schools, to providing us with a lot of materials that private homeowners could use to rebuild. So, you know, the regional security system, the CDEM, all of our regional institutions which deal with disaster management and preparedness, you know, came to our rescue. So that was also a significant factor. And then internationally, you know, countries from the Middle East to Africa, to our traditional partners in North and South America, North America, you know, Canada, all supported us. You see, even recently, we got a significant donation of supplies from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So our international partners have come to assistance as well, and they recognize that, you know, you'd have the immediate, in a sense, sometimes hysteria of relief to deal with, but then you also have to rebuild, and that's usually a much longer process. And so ensuring that we have partners who understand the medium to long-term support is still needed is critical. Then I would say, from a domestic perspective, we have done certain things that have clearly made us certainly financially more resilient. Having a Fiscal Resilience Act in place, which keeps us disciplined on our fiscal approach to managing our expenditure, is key. Ensuring that we purchase and remain in the game on catastrophic risk insurance is vital. And I say this because when I became Prime Minister, there was conversations which had started before us as to whether or not we should remain with the catastrophic risk insurance, given the significant premiums that had been paid, and that we received no payouts. And my position was that we were staying with it come hell or high water, because we recognized the importance of it. But we went further. We also recognized that some of our key infrastructure companies, like the water and the power company, did not have catastrophic risk insurance. In the case of Renewable in particular, they've been self-insuring at enormous cost. So we were able to get that extended to those two key sectors. And I think going forward, we will certainly do everything to see how we can get other sectors to be extended. In the case of agriculture, the Minister for Agriculture literally came to me, I think, a month before the hurricane hit, asking for support to pay premiums that will provide crop insurance coverage to some of our farmers. And we readily agreed to it. And again, we were lucky as a result of that to have some funding to assist. So ensuring that we continue to look at fiscal tools that will allow us to build financial resilience to deal with natural and other disasters is critical. We also have a 2% contingency fund that we set aside for immediate disaster responses, and under the National Transformation Fund that is related to the Investment by Migration program, we have set aside, since we came into office and we amended the regulations on this issue, the 10% that is required to ensure that we can build financial resilience into our system. So it's a rainy day fund for economic shocks. It's currently at about 44 million. And I want to emphasize, as the Minister of Finance emphasized, we have not actually touched that fund to treat with the Hurricane Beryl response because we believe the catastrophic risk insurance and the other measures are adequate for us to be able to deal with that. So on the financial side, that has helped quite a lot, but we need to continue building resilience because you do recognize you can get a hurricane every year, or you can get a drought or a fire or some other man-made or natural or health challenge on an annual basis. So we have to continue building the resilience into this. We've had significant teamwork. The Cabinet of Ministers, senior management within the various ministries have all, rolled up their sleeves and worked together on delivering first an immediate response to the hurricane, and then working on, complete disaster management, and then working on some of the long-term approaches to how we are able to treat with some of this. But no doubt it is challenging, and it's made more challenging now by some of the tensions that have increased in recent times in terms of the additional tensions that already existed in the geopolitical space, both regionally and internationally. So I think for us, it's important for us to play our role in ensuring that we advocate for dialogue, for people to speak and negotiate solutions to the challenges that we face, rather than nationalism and a military or aggressive approach to things. Wars and disputes don't serve anyone, and in particular, small islands are oftentimes severely impacted by the consequences of those, even if you're not directly involved in any of the disputes. So we're also mindful of our need for advocacy too, to encourage all countries to talk and to sit at the table. And as I've said repeatedly, we are happy to host them in the Caribbean, in Grenada, so that they can do the dialoguing if necessary.
You talk about the teamwork and how your cabinet and other auxiliary parties have supported in the just getting ourselves back together after Beryl. What would you say about the resilience of the people themselves and Carriacouans in particular? How have they really responded to this challenge?
Well, I think, there's no doubt, I think in the first 48 hours, and perhaps for some weeks after, I think it would be fair to say that I think most persons were in a severe state of shock. It's not an easy thing to wake up and in half an hour to recognize that almost everything that you've built in your life has literally disappeared or significantly crumbled, and not just you, but your entire island. So there's no doubt, I think, that there was a significant shock. I think by having so many volunteers come up quickly in the immediate aftermath, and having our international partners and donors come to Carriacou, I think it helped our brothers and sisters there to come out of the shock and to recognize that they were alive. That despite the traumatic experience, that for the most part, and some minor injuries and a death, that we were alive. And if you had life, then there's an opportunity to start all over again and to rebuild. And I think certainly in the last several months, it is quite clear, if you go to Carriacou now, that the citizens have bounced back. In many instances, they're bouncing back better, and I think they recognize that they have an opportunity to not just rebuild the physical infrastructure, but I think the community, a lot of the cultural intangibles of Carriacou, to continue preserving them and to make sure that it can be preserved for next generations of citizens of Carriacou, Petit Martinique, and Grenada. So I certainly think they are doing much better now. We've spent a lot of time focusing on the elderly. You recognize we moved a lot of the elderly who were in homes and so on to Grenada so that we could provide the support needed, and then they've moved back. And I think that's an indication, if people were not resilient, they'd probably want to stay in Grenada. But the fact that they've asked to return, and that many of them, despite the challenges, did not move, but chose to stay in Carriacou, I think is testimony to their strong connection to their islands. That has happened. We've also provided support to the students at TAMCC by, again, moving them and supporting them, whether it's through financial support or tablets, etc. But there's still a very clear connection and desire to go back to Carriacou. So we are supporting that. In the field of education, it's important for the children in particular to have had a normal return as quickly as possible to routine schooling. That is coming along significantly. So we certainly think, despite the initial challenge of the shock and the devastation, that Carriacou and Peaty Martinique has shown tremendous resilience and that they're bouncing back quite well. But obviously the support is something that we cannot take for granted, the psychosocial support, because oftentimes, I had this experience where someone said to me, after we indicated we were going to have a curfew in the immediate aftermath of the hurricane, the person said they were having flashbacks about COVID-19. And so I said to them, we would only keep the curfew if it was absolutely necessary. And we saw we lifted it quite easily once we were satisfied there was no security or health risk to the general population. But you can't underestimate sometimes that people relive trauma. And so they need to continue support and continue providing counseling and so on for our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and in the north of the island. I'm sure will remain for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, considering also, Prime Minister, that the hurricane was so devastating in Carriacou and also here in Grenada, are you satisfied actually with your government's performance in terms of reaching out and dispelling doubts and just bringing back some measure of confidence to our people?
No, certainly. I think if you take, first of all, I think just the entire experience of the hurricane itself and our approach. We were always there, we were always available, and we used almost every tool that was available to remain in constant communication before, during, and after the passage of the hurricane. Despite some of the limitations that NADMA has, and we're still in a transition period, I think NADMA also did well, supported by our regional bodies. I think all of the MPs led in many instances from the front. They were, for example, the Minister of Finance was in the emergency operating center in Riversally leading up to the storm and during the storm. So because we recognize that in times like these, we have to lead from the front and we have to be there with our people. So I think from that perspective, I would certainly say we are satisfied with the response. I think the single biggest, I think there are three big medium-term challenges. Housing, and it's exacerbated by the fact that we have severe constraints in terms of capacity, from building materials to aggregates to labor.
Yeah.
Those are not just challenges facing Grenada, but regionally. You have an economy in Guyana that is very hot, so they're absorbing a lot of that capacity as well. But you have construction booms taking place in places like Barbados, where 6 hotels are started to construct. So there are options for contractors, there are options for persons in labor. But it's compounded by the fact that our education system over the last 2 decades have not really skilled up sufficiently of our labor in those areas where the demands are there. So that's that challenge. 2, you have the challenge of the environment. Because the agriculture and many of our forestries were devastated in the north of the island in particular, which in many instances is really where a lot of our rainfall takes place. Yeah. You have a situation where if you have sharp or high velocity of rainfall for a short period of time, we don't have enough forage or foliage to, in a sense, temper the impact of the rainfall. So what you're having then is you're going to have water coming on in volumes and at a rate that is much faster. And then it challenges the coast and the south and flood-prone areas. So that's a major challenge. And in effect, we had a drought prior to that. So you would have already had a situation where the forest was taking a battering. And the significant flooding that we had in November, and the year before we also had some significant flooding as well, has undermined a lot of the infrastructure in the country. The bridges, the drains, the road edges and so on. And all of this is happening simultaneously. So it requires, in a sense, calm, but it also requires a plan, and we also have to recognize that you don't improve things overnight. And if we become distracted, then the resilience and the strength we need to build to ensure that we build back better in 4, 5, 6 years we could withstand some of these occurrences will not happen, because we will unfortunately look to do plasters rather than trying to address those issues. So we need to address the environment, we need to address the forest, we need to replant. We need to look at how we can create basins upstream to catch some of that water rather than having it come down and then it's too late. We need to ensure that people understand that the government's budget is finite. If we don't ensure that our contractors build properly and insist that they build to building code because we just want the house, no. It will not last, and it will not be able to withstand these challenges that you would face. So it's important for us to recognize we don't live for today. We are living for tomorrow and 5 and 10, and if not you, then your children and your grandchildren. So we have to make sure that we also pace ourselves and not, in a sense, have unrealistic expectations and then force people to give you what I would call plaster type responses, which then puts you worse off 2 or 3 years down the road. So those are the challenges. I think on the housing side, the Ministry of Housing, in conjunction with MIT, as well as the housing authorities, looking at all of the array of options that we have, from prefab homes to the project Build Back Better, to housing assistance. But key to all of this is ensuring that the homes are built to better standards, and that we also discourage people from building in areas where the soil is unstable, either on slopes or in areas where you're prone to flooding. Those are things we have to work with the citizens to understand. So that's, I think, the key immediate to medium-term challenge that we face. But if we don't address the environment and the planting back of our trees and taking care of the forests and so on, we are going to have major challenges just from moderate rainfall. And that's a significant risk that we face.
You think your government has done enough in regards to these farmers that were affected negatively in terms of your fiscal buffing?
Well, I mean,
they're happy?
$34+ million has been paid out. That's an enormous amount of money. Obviously, it's meant to serve as a cushion, but crucially, we are doing other things in agriculture to really support farmers, and that was happening whether or not we had Hurricane Beryl. Now, obviously, there's a need to accelerate the responses. As you're aware, we are launching the tissue lab in Maribor this month. That's a major, major accomplishment because it would give us the ability to produce plant tissue for farmers to be able to have access to, so that we can plant and boost just the start of production. That's a key factor. We have not had that for several years. We've imported several goat, sheep to support the livestock industry. They're in law right now. And again, that is to jumpstart production in the livestock sector. We are currently reviewing the entire poultry situation, and the team has been engaging with Caribbean Agro, because the cost of feed is a major issue for us, to look at how we can support and restructure the entire industry. It's one area where we spend an enormous amount of foreign exchange importing frozen chicken into the island. So that's an area where we feel that there's an opportunity for significant improvement and significant ramping up of support to our poultry sector. But in the meantime, there's been support in terms of feed and additional inputs. We are working with Caribbean Agro to have a hatchery constructed to support the sector, particularly when it comes to youth in agriculture. We are heavily focused on this and meeting with our young people to see how we can better support. One of the key issues is, in fact, access to land. So a lot of young farmers simply don't have sufficient access to land, so we are looking at how we can better utilize government estates, or how we can partner with persons who have private lands but who are not working it and who may want to put it in a land bank to help, and then that way we can give access to farmers. We are very much still keen to get the spice replanting program done, because we think we have not scaled this up sufficiently enough, and that helps with the forest issues that I raised before. I'm taking farming to include our fishermen. Right, we are really keen to transform our approach to fishing. We've created, and this budget will support it, a Ministry of the Marine Environment, including fishing, which will go under this department. You'd see, for example, in Soubise, we constructed lockers and so on for the fishermen up there for the first time, right? And that facility provides significant storage for them, but it's also powered via renewable energy, which is also so critical. So we are seeking also to organize the fishermen. If you take St. David or the entire East Coast, for example, there's one fishing cooperative. There's no fishing cooperative in St. David, right? There's no jetties, no lockers. So providing additional infrastructure for them, but also making sure we get them to understand that fishing is an industry, it's a business. There's enormous potential. It's not just catching the fish and selling it. So that is something that we think is critical. And all of this is aimed at food security, driving domestic economic activity and revitalizing the rural economy. Because we recognize that there's been, in a sense, a lot of the rural poverty is directly linked to the decline of the agriculture and the fishing sectors in the rural part of the island. And if we don't address this, then you'd have greater pressures on social safety nets and having to provide support for our rural community. But the land is still there. I've always said Grenada hasn't gotten smaller. There's a lot of technology available now to boost agricultural production, and we need to make sure the greenhouses, we're working with our partners from China, through China Aid on the greenhouses. We're speaking to the Moroccans, who've also offered assistance in that area. The Moroccans have provided a lot of support with fertilizers and so on. We've subsidized the cost of fertilizers for farmers and so on. So we don't just talk about the agriculture. We are really making a wholehearted and concerted effort to boost our support to agriculture and to get younger persons involved. And one of the things I'm really excited about is that the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Youth, and the Cabinet Office, through our transformative areas, have picked agriculture as one of those areas. And we are looking to, in a sense, reestablish the Maribor Farm School as the center of excellence for agriculture, right, in Grenada. And the school, a lot of the facilities are already there. And we think there's enormous potential both for research and development and for new ways of ramping up production in agriculture on the island. And it's key for us to get young people involved in agriculture. If we don't do that, I went to a lot of the check handouts, and the average age of the farmers are 50 and 60, in some cases 70s. Right, so if we don't get people in the 20s involved in agriculture, if we don't get them in the teens involved in agriculture, and I don't mean theory of a book. I went to my daughter's PTC and asked the agricultural science teacher, how many periods per week? 1. We can't be serious, right? And no practical experience.
Right.
And I'm saying once that happens, then obviously we are missing the obvious opportunity to get them involved in. I mean, it's an incredible thing to plant a seed and seed grow. So just that experience. So we have to retool and reshape the education system to be more directly impactful on the things that we need in the community. So I think the Maribor Center of Excellence for Agriculture is going to be a critical part of that. And that way we can produce the agricultural scientists that we need to make sure that we can boost food production. And there are other areas, CMOS, shell fishing, a lot of those things we completely depend on nature, but we don't actually do commercial fishing and in a sense commercial growing of conch or crayfish or any of those things, which we certainly should be pursuing. And the technology exists. If you go to places like Cuba, you see that. So I think there's enormous potential for us to really increase our output in the marine sector, and that's the reason why we've created a ministry dedicated to that.
All right. Prime Minister, as you have spoken a lot of the plans for this year for 2025, but as I hear you, I'm going back to your first budget. It is year 3. Your plans, I know that Berry might have slowed down some of them, but you see yourself on course for that, for your government's plans for that term.
No, certainly. I mean, every budget is prepared with a 3-year medium-term plan as well. So I'll give an example. Let's take the hospital project.
Yes.
Right? We were able to acquire the lands in 2024. And we've got a special purpose vehicle, so we have a site. We've put together a project team led by Ms. Andrea St. Bernard and Damian Dolan. They've spent enormous time working on the financing, because at the end of the day, no matter what, you have to find the money to be able to build the hospital, and then you have to make sure that a business plan is in place to ensure that this becomes a successful venture. So they've done a lot of work. We've retained Deloitte & Touche to assist with the business plan. We expect this to be delivered this month. They've spent a lot of time traveling and meeting with various potential financiers. In fact, prior to coming into the budget in Parliament, we had a meeting for the African Bank team, looking at a concept they also are doing in Abuja, Nigeria, and a new hospital will be commissioned there in June to see what potential opportunities there might be for us to partner from that perspective. So the financing part, significant work is going on that. Obviously, we have done, as you're aware, we've entered first into a consultancy arrangement with Mount Sinai. We are hoping that they can become the strategic partner for the hospital. But even if they don't, we have already gotten them to do a gap assessment of our existing hospital, because it's critical for us to appreciate that we can't wait till the hospital is built to start correcting our management structure or culture or clinical practices or accountability or transparency, all of those things. So they've done the gap assessment. They've made the recommendations of how we need to already begin to alter the management structure at the existing hospital. That is under consideration by the cabinet, and we expect there will be approval. And then the implementation of some of the changes in the management practice that needs to happen now, not when we build the new hospital. So we are expecting, we have a very ambitious target of breaking ground next year for this hospital. For that to happen, obviously, we've got to secure the financing and feel confident. You might have missed it, but the Minister for Finance announced in the budget speech that we have set aside $25 million on a special fund with the East Caribbean Central Bank, and we will also set aside every starting in June, a monthly sum or an annual sum from the investment migration receipts to help ensure that we are putting aside additional funds to support the hospital project. So, for transformative and challenging projects like this, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. You have to know what you want to accomplish in year 1, what you want to accomplish in year 2, what you want to accomplish in year 3, and be able to move forward. So our ambition, obviously, is to break ground in next year. It will probably take at least 24 months to 30 months to complete the construction. So that takes us into 26, 27. Probably by 2028, we should have the building completed. and then all things being equal, we expect that will be operational going forward from there. But it is easy to cut a check and give a farmer, say, $5,000 to support him in Hurricane Beryl. It's a completely different scenario to conceive, plan, finance, design, build, and execute a state-of-the-art hospital when you haven't done so for 100 years. That's just an example. So we are taking on difficult things. We are taking on things that may not be completed in my term in office or your term, or even perhaps when I'm alive. But the idea is to create transformative things. When Sir Eric Matthew Geary gave the permission for St. George's University to establish St. George's University,